17-year-old Jordan Washington are suing Jordan's former basketball coach, Devin Johnson, for stealing his iPod.
Order. All rise. Now it's case number 22 on the calendar in the matter of Harris, Washington versus Johnson.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, ma'am. Have a seat.
How old are you?
17.
What's your first name?
Jordan.
Jordan, you're a very tall boy.
Yes.
Woo! 17 years old. How tall are you?
6'6".
Life's not fair. All I wanted to be was 5'4".
All I wanted to do was be rich.
You made it.
Yeah.
Jordan, you play baseball?
Basketball.
Basketball. And this was your coach?
Yes.
Not your coach anymore?
Yes.
And you and your mother are suing him over an iPod?
Correct.
An iPod that Mr. Johnson said he did in fact sell. He's not even sure it belonged to you, but he has some story to tell me that he thinks justifies taking your iPod and selling it, and then he has a counterclaim for certain money that he says he extended to you, Jordan, and some harassment nonsense. So, Mr. Johnson, why don't you tell me about the iPod?
I know very little about the iPod until the incident happened.
Well, you were traveling, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When were you traveling?
It was in July of 2009.
And you were traveling with the team?
Yes, ma'am.
Jordan was a member of the team?
At that time, yes, ma'am.
You were traveling by bus?
We rented a 12-passenger van.
Is he the tallest one on the team?
At that time, yes, he was.
Where'd you get the iPod from, Jordan?
I bought it from a friend.
What friend?
Caleb.
When did you buy it from Caleb?
Say about March of 09.
How much did you pay him for it?
300.
Back in March of 09, what were they selling them for in the store?
400. 450.
Why wouldn't you buy one from the store?
Because my friend was selling it for cheaper.
Where did he get it from?
He got it from the store.
Okay. So tell me, now you're traveling by bus, Mr. Johnson, and what happened?
Well, to make the story right, my witness here can testify as to when the iPod first came in question.
Okay. Who are you?
Tammy Williams.
How do you know these people?
I'm his wife, and I'm the team manager, team mom. I take care of all the tournaments, make all the reservations.
Tell me what you know about this iPod.
I do know that we had got to our destination.
Which was where?
Las Vegas, Nevada. And Jordan approached me and told me that his iPod was missing. I told him, did you check your bag good enough? And Jordan said he did and he couldn't find it. Told him, go check the van. He said, well, maybe someone took it. And I told him, no one took it. So let everyone get their stuff out the van first. Go back and search the van. It's probably in the van. After that, I didn't hear anything about it until a couple days later. That time I had assumed that Jordan had found it because he never mentioned it anymore.
Okay. Then you can pick it up, Mr. Johnson.
Well, I was made aware of an incident concerning a player having money stolen from him. And so we decided to have a team meeting to try to get to the bottom of what was going on. And during that meeting, it was discovered, which he later admitted to, that Jordan was the perpetrator of stealing the $20 from the
Well, tell
other
me
teammate.
what Jordan said to you at that meeting.
At the initial meeting, when we had everybody, we called it kind of holding court. And so when I confronted Jordan, it was laughed off at like it was a prank. So at that time, I was like, man, give him his money back and be done with it. And
Okay,
that was the last I heard
Jordan,
at that time.
is that correct?
That's incorrect.
Tell me about the $20.
Okay.
Don't look up there. Up there's not going to help you.
Okay. After my iPod was missing for about 2 days, I was upset, and I seen a wallet on the bed. And I looked in it, and there's some money in there. I was upset about the iPod, so I just took them. I took $20 out of the iPod. I mean, out of the wallet.
Out of one of your teammates' wallets.
Yes, it was just sitting there.
I don't care if it was sitting there or doing a jig. You stole $20 out of his wallet.
Okay.
So, Mr. Johnson, you gave the player the $20?
Actually, my wife gave the player
the $20.
He had been given the opportunity to return that money earlier in the day, and he never would do that. He told me he had left the money in his bag in the room, and I told him I would be going in his bag to retrieve the money to give it back to the player. When I got to the room, there was no money in the bag. So I had to wait till for Jordan to come back from sightseeing to once again have the team meeting again and confront him about the $20.
And what happens at that meeting?
This is when his whole attitude really flipped on me. He, matter of fact, told me that he had no intentions of returning the money, and I was kind of thrown aback, and I asked him, well, why? What's going on? Why would you take your teammates' money? And he said, well, somebody stole my iPod. And I said, Jordan, nobody stole your iPod. I said, I got 12 teenagers pretty much living out of a 12-passenger van. The van is a mess. Did you go down there and search it? He said, no. I said, I'll tell you what, I am going to sleep. I'm tired. I've been coaching all day. I've been driving most of the time. I'm tired. You have till I wake up the next morning to go clean the van out to go get your iPod. If I get down there the next morning and I find that iPod, it belongs to me now because I had to pay the kid the $20 to keep the peace. And I basically told him he sold his iPod for $20.
So you said, I returned the $20 that you stole to the young man. If I go down and find your iPod, the iPod belongs to me.
Yes, ma'am.
And you went down, and lo and behold, what'd you find in the van?
First thing, when I opened the door, I looked under the seat where he was sitting, and there's a beautiful iPod sitting right under the seat where he was sitting at.
So what'd you do with it?
I walked up to the room, pretty upset still. I'm a coach. I get kind of animated. And I told him, I said, look, you got to the next morning when we get back home in Bakersfield. Bring me my $20, or the iPod is mine, and I'll do with it whatever I want to.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Would you think if you saw a wallet sitting over there, you had the right to go into a wallet and take money?
No.
Of course not. Where do you think he gets that from?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Jordan Washington says his former basketball coach, Devin Johnson, stole his iPod. Devin says he was trying to teach Jordan a lesson, and he is countersuing for an unpaid loan.
Now, Jordan, why didn't you return the $20 to the coach? I believe what he says, that he said to you, I have your iPod. When we get back to Bakersfield, give me the $20 back, because nobody stole your iPod. You just dropped it on the floor. Just give me back the $20 and I'll give you the iPod. Otherwise, I'm going to sell the iPod or do whatever I want to do with it, and I'll pay myself back. Why didn't you just give him back the $20?
I didn't have the $20 at the time.
What'd you do with it?
I already spent it.
On what?
Vegas. It was Vegas. Spent it.
May I say something, Your Honor? And actually, mind you, when he left to leave with us to Vegas, he didn't have his tournament money, and he had no money in his pocket. My wife felt sorry for him and was giving him spending money during that time just to put something in his pocket. So he didn't even have to steal from the boy. It might not have been a lot of money, but it was $10 here, $10 there, and that Jordan, he didn't appreciate that.
Did the Johnsons give you any money when you were traveling?
They gave me approximately $10. They gave me $10 to eat. Okay.
Go ahead, Ms. Williams.
Actually, Your Honor, I was purchasing him food, as other boys. He wasn't the only one. Some of them had more money than others. When they wanted to go sightsee, I gave him money. I gave that day, over the time, I gave over a couple $100. I'm giving 10 here, 15 here, and buying their meals.
You have some source of revenue from this team?
No.
No, actually, Your Honor, it's just a neighborhood traveling team. I just started to try to help at-risk kids in our community.
How is it funded?
By car washes, and then whatever we don't make up on car wash, we've split amongst the kids, and they have to come up with $20, $25, whatever to travel.
Well, how do you get the van? The van is more than $20, $25.
Through car washes, we kick in some money. You know, we just do what's necessary. Actually, Your Honor, I have a little article and some stuff that has, to show that we've been doing it for 8 years now. We're very serious about trying to make a difference.
How long were you on the team, Jordan?
I say about 3 months.
How long were the other kids on the team?
Since they were young, childhood.
What?
When Jordan told me what had happened, Jordan, I, and a friend had met with Mr. Johnson at the park. We waited till he finished Little League football. He was coaching. And I talked to him about the iPod. He told me what had happened. And he never once brought up that Jordan owed him any money. I asked him for the iPod back. He said that he had sold it. I said, well, you're either going to have to give him the iPod back or the money. And he just basically said, take him to court. And he went on and on about street justice, and I'm from the hood, and this is how we deal with that. And I said, I don't care where you're from. Legally, you're not supposed to hold somebody's property in payment of anything.
You're right.
Excuse me.
Just a second. You're right. But what I want to know, Ms. Harris, is what did you do and say to your son with regard to stealing this boy's money because he was angry?
I told Jordan he was wrong and he was going to have to accept responsibility.
Did he give the money back?
And no monies was ever mentioned to
No,
me.
listen to me. You didn't hear my question, Miss Harris.
Did he give the money back?
Did he give the money back to the boy who he stole it from?
No, he didn't.
Well, you come back to me, Miss Harris, when your son gives back the $20 to the boy who he stole from. You come back to me and ask for some justice from the court. Do you understand?
Yes.
You can't come into a court and say, I stole, but there are no consequences. And somebody who, in effect, took the law into his own hands and decided what an appropriate response would be in his capacity as coach, I think it was wrong. Put your hand down, sir. I think it was wrong. But he doesn't have clean hands. He sort of thinks it was okay because he thought somebody stole his iPod. It was okay for him to steal out of somebody's wallet. Would you think if you saw a wallet sitting over there, you had the right to go into a wallet and take money?
No.
Of course not. Where do you think he gets that from?
He basically was trying to get the iPod back.
No. That had nothing to do with it. You're making excuses for him, Miss Harris. That's an excuse. He just said to me he was mad because he thought somebody stole his iPod, so he was going to steal somebody's money.
Yes.
There were 12 people. I mean, more likely than not, he lost it rather than somebody stealing it. As it happened, that's what happened. He lost it. He found it, but he didn't even bother to look for it. Wasn't right under his nose, so he assumed somebody stole it. But that doesn't give him the right to go and steal somebody's money. So you come to me after your son pays back the $20 to the boy who he stole from. Then I'm going to entertain his case for the return of his iPod. You understand each other, Jordan?
Yes.
Perfect. How long ago did you steal this money?
It was during the trip, July 7th.
You've had almost a year to return the money.
The boy and I made arrangements.
To what?
To where I would have to, like, help him with his homework. I go to the same high school as he did.
And?
He struggles in a subject, and I help him, and the debt is already paid off. Instead of paying him $20, I helped him on his homework.
Why didn't you pay him back his $20 and help him with his homework anyway?
Your Honor, I find it real funny that he says he helped this man with his homework. Jordan has been in 5 schools in the last 4 years because of academic and failing grades. Caleb is a top-notch student. There's no way this young man is going to help that kid with his homework. He's 50 credits behind in school. I tried to help him out with coaching my football team to earn 10 more credits. He didn't complete that.
Does that sound right, Mr. Washington?
That's not true.
What subjects were you helping Caleb in?
Algebra, math.
Algebra is math.
Oh, yes.
Come to me with proof, sir, that you, in fact, paid back the $20, and I'll hear your claim with regard to the return of your iPod. It is your claim that you advanced some money to Jordan.
Yes, Your Honor.
You can't create a debt with a minor.
I understand that, Your Honor, but...
Unless his mother agreed to repay you.
Can I tell you how that came about?
Absolutely.
During that time, Caleb was living with his father. I had never met the mother until after this incident, okay? When I brought Jordan home, I presented the iPod to his dad. It was not received because there was a question to where he got the iPod from.
What do you mean it wasn't received?
Well, when I tried to give the iPod to his father said, I don't want it because I don't know where my son got it from. And through his investigation, he couldn't find out where he got it from. So he would not take the iPod back. So that's when I decided I had to go ahead and sell it because it was a question. When can I bring my counterclaim up?
I asked you about it, but you were hell-bent on telling me this story, which isn't, as it happened, an interesting story.
Now, when I'm suing for the counterclaim, he didn't have his tournament money. It was agreed upon, what I assumed his parents, that when we returned.
With whom?
Well, at the time it was his father, but I didn't know his mother was involved in his life at the time. So I didn't know, if it was either one. They both, whoever has supposed to have custody of them now. But on top of that,
tournament money, sir, is not unnecessary. It's not food, clothing, or shelter. So you can't hold Miss Harris responsible.
He needed food and shelter while he was in Vegas.
But you didn't make an agreement with her.
Okay.
To take him on a tournament. You made an agreement with his father.
I'll concede that, no problem. Now, I have another question now that I'm going for harassment because him, his mother, and the boyfriend approached my practice, disrupted my practice, and were claiming about the iPod, and then totally...
You better stop doing that, Miss Harris. Do you understand?
Yes.
Your son is a thief. He stole money. That's what you should be concerned about. I don't know if he stole the iPod. I believe the story Mr. Johnson tells me that his father says, I'm not touching this iPod because I don't know where he got it from. Because certainly I didn't give him $300 for an iPod. And I assume that at the time he was living with his father, is that right?
No, he was there on summer vacation with his father.
I assume he was living with his father at the time.
Yes.
That's living with. Summer. You mean June, July, and August?
Yes.
Okay. So he was living with his father and he wasn't sure. Did you give him $300 for an iPod?
No.
Was he working?
Yes.
Where?
Paper route.
When?
He's been doing the paper route since '07.
And so the money he got from the paper route he used to buy the iPod, is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Did you tell that to your father?
No, my father knew nothing about the iPod.
He says he went to return it.
Until that's the only time he knew about the iPod, me having an iPod.
Your Honor, when his father called me and told me about the incident in Vegas, he never mentioned to me about an iPod or about Coach D having his iPod. Him and Coach D are friends. They've known each other for years. And he basically didn't want to get involved because Jordan is his son and the coach is his friend.
Miss Harris, who started this problem?
Jordan by stealing.
Right. I'm not excusing Mr. Johnson. I think that he did the wrong thing by selling the iPod, if he sold it. But your emphasis should not be on Mr. Johnson. Your emphasis should be on your son's conduct.
Yes, ma'am. He's basically a good kid, and this never happened before.
Fine. If he's basically a good kid and this never happened before, fine. But don't make excuses. And the fact that it sounds to me like Mr. Johnson donates a lot of time to the community to try to do good things. Right?
Yes, but it was wrong what he did.
Yes, it was wrong what he did. He didn't steal. He exercised bad judgment with regard to teaching your son a lesson.
Yes.
That's different from stealing. That's different from a conscious act of trying to deprive someone else of their property knowing it's the wrong thing to do. And that's where your emphasis should be. And I suggest you and your son and your boyfriend stay away from Mr. Johnson. And if you want to see me again, you'll come back to see me again, having established to my satisfaction that your son's debt is paid. Do we understand each other?
Yes. Can I say
That's
one more
all.
thing?
Your excuse, you may step out.
I felt it was a correct decision.
I was in the wrong, and also the coach is in the wrong.
I was disappointed in Jordan's actions, and I'm also disappointed in the coach and in his wife.
He made a bad mistake, and he had to pay for it.
I made a bad judgment.
Jordan is a minor, and he made a bad decision.
It totally disrupted the team. Like I say, Jordan basically left town a hero and came back with his peer group a zero.
I'm no longer on that team anymore because of that incident.
He's not even looked at the same way with the respect he had from his classmen after he pulled that stunt out there.
Really, I just hope she takes this opportunity and work with Jordan.
I was actually open to keep trying with Jordan because he's still a kid and he still has a future ahead of him.
Jordan is a decent kid.
I presented it to the team and asked them if they would accept Jordan back, and it was an emphatic no. They don't want him back.
He's an athlete, and he made one mistake that, he's sorry for.
Hopefully, Jordan's on the right track, and hopefully his mom will get on the right track also.
When you are part of a team, teammates don't steal from each other. Teammates support one another.
No matter what, don't take the law into your own hands.
Donna Hoffman is suing her daughter's boyfriend, 19-year-old warehouse worker Daniel Coons, for damage to her car and for stealing money from 2 bank accounts.
Your Honor, this is case number 82 on the calendar in the matter of Hoffman versus Coons. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Miss Hoffman, is this your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
Is she still seeing Mr. Coons?
Yes, Your Honor.
So I assume she's not happy being here today.
You're correct.
It is your claim, Miss Hoffman, that Mr. Coon forged some checks of yours
Correct.
and also took money out of your daughter's account.
Correct.
In addition to that, he had an accident while driving your car. Mr. Coon says, well, he acknowledges that he did forge some checks of yours, but he says that he paid you back that money in restitution by working for you. And he didn't steal as much as you claim he stole. And aside from that, he says your daughter knew all about it. And As far as taking money out of her account, she was aware of that. And as far as the car incident was concerned, your daughter knew he didn't have a valid driver's license. He had a suspended driver's license, so she gave him permission to drive the car, and therefore he's not responsible. Correct?
Correct.
Tell me about the car incident, sir.
I went down to the store. I was driving through the parking lot, and a lady backed out, and she actually bumped into me, and I got out and made sure everything was okay. She said it doesn't look like any damage is done here, and I was all, here's my number. We exchanged numbers, and I said if there's any further problems, call me, and that was it.
Why should she call you if she backed into you?
I just told her to call me because if it was, we wanted to exchange insurance information later on.
I don't understand why she should call you. She backed into you.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. I told her, I was like, you know, you backed out. I honked the horn. Basically, everything's all right. There was no damage done.
Was there any damage done to the car?
Yes, there was damage. I have proof that there was damage. And the thing was, he didn't even call and tell me that he backed in. He just, what happened was...
Can I see the pictures, please?
Yes. The other company called me, and that's how I found out.
The other company called you because she was filing a claim?
She filed a claim, yes.
She filed a claim? How could she file a claim? She, according to him, backed into him.
She said that he backed into her. So I
Where was the damage to your car?
Underneath the bumper.
Mr. Coons, when did you notify Ms. Hoffman that there had been this little accident?
I didn't notify her.
Okay. Now let's get back to your defense to this action. Your defense to this action is that you had a suspended driver's license, but your girlfriend knew about it when she gave you the car to go to the store.
Yeah. I was just going to run to the store, get some things at the store, and come right back. Your house is like half a mile from the store.
Why was your driver's license suspended?
For traffic tickets that I failed to appear on.
What kind of tickets?
Like 2 speeding tickets.
And
a red light violation.
So you're not a good driver?
I'm a good driver.
No, you're not. They don't take away the license of good drivers.
Yeah.
How many accidents?
Driving a car on a suspended license is...
illegal.
That's not something that Christina can wave a wand and do away with. That's only something that you have control over, Mr. Coons.
I didn't think it was a big deal, though, just to run down to the store.
It is a big deal, you idiot. When they say you can't drive, they don't say you can't drive except to go down to the store.
True.
Now, just for my own curiosity, sir, what is it that you had to get that was so important at the store? Insulin?
No.
What?
Just some stuff for dinner.
Your Honor.
Just don't say. Does it look like you're losing? Does it look like you're losing so far? What?
I was going to...
Can I tell you something? Christina.
Yes.
He's still your boyfriend?
Yes.
He's an idiot. Maybe you're an idiot. I don't know if you're an idiot or not, but he's an idiot. And if you're going to hitch your wagon to his star, you're going to have a miserable life.
No, Your Honor.
What? Listen to me, Christina. Your mother's been around for a while,
Yes.
right? You've been married,
Yes, ma'am.
divorced?
Yes.
How many times?
Once.
Once. Been there, done that, couple of times. Been in the family court, years. I got a nose. You hitch your wagon to this star, you're going to have a miserable life. Just think about it. 10 years from now, you're going to say, you know, I appeared before Judge Judy in this silly little case that was on television, and she, put your hand down, and she told me if I hitched my wagon to his star, I was going to have a miserable life. She was right. Just listen to me. I don't know about you. You may be a loser, too. Then maybe you belong together. Maybe two halves make a whole. I don't know. But if you certainly don't look it. How much is it going to cost to fix the bumper?
$971.
Good, $971. Now, Mr. Coons, explain to me why you took checks from Miss Hoffman and forged her name and cashed them.
I started hanging out with the wrong crowd, doing some stupid stuff, and I needed a bunch of cash.
Hanging around with a bad crowd doesn't mean you need cash. If you're hanging around with a bad crowd and you buy drugs and owe somebody for money for the drugs, and you need cash for that, otherwise somebody's going to break your knees, that's a reason. So you want to explain to me what you needed this money for?
Basically, I got into drugs, and I needed cash to support it. And then after that...
Were you supporting Christina's drug habit too?
No, I'd never get into that.
Did Christina know you were doing drugs?
Nope.
So she's not very intuitive, right?
Nope.
You managed to conceal that from her,
Yep.
right? How did I know that, Mr. Coons? It's not anywhere in these papers, sir. Did you think that maybe I have a crystal ball?
Yep.
Experience. That's what I'm trying to tell Christina. How much money did he steal from you?
$1,320 out of my account.
I don't care what he took out of Christina's account. If Miss Stupid wants to stay with him, she'll deal with that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What kind of drugs?
Oxycontin?
Why in the world would an attractive girl like you want to hook up with him?
Because I love him.
And later today,
How much child support do you pay for your other child?
None.
Why not?
I do for my other son, as well as I do for Michael while he's staying with his father here.
Don't talk to me with attitude. There's only one attitude here, and that's mine.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Donna Hoffman says her daughter's boyfriend, Daniel Coons, stole money from her and her daughter's bank accounts. Donna says Daniel took the money to support his OxyContin habit.
When did you find out that he took money out of your account?
Maybe a couple weeks or a month later.
Come. Stand up next to your mother, Christina. Here we go. How much did he take out of your account?
I think it was $650.
And you didn't find out that he took the money out of your account until after he took it out?
No, it bounced in my account.
So you didn't know he had done it?
No.
When you confronted him about it, what did he say, Christina?
He told me about it.
Well, what did he tell you?
And he bounced checks in my account.
No, what did he tell you? Come on. You just say to him, where'd you get the money from? Where did you get the checks from? What did you use the money for? Those were the intelligent questions, Christina. And what did he tell you?
He told me what he used it for and why he needed
what?
it. Drugs.
What kind of drugs?
Oxycontin.
And after you found out that the checks bounced, did he take any other money out of your account?
No, Your Honor.
Is that right, sir?
Yep.
I just changed my mind. Because, Mr. Coons, in your answer you say that Christina here knew all about it, that she was aware of it. She says she wasn't. You know that?
She put the checks in her account, so that would... she knew about the checks going in her account, but not them bouncing.
Not that there were no funds.
Yeah, exactly.
But you knew.
Yep, I knew.
But you didn't tell her.
Yep.
Well, then you misled me, sir. You misled me in your answer. Your answer suggested that she was a co-conspirator. All right. So let's understand, Christina, who he is. He stole from your mother.
Mm-hmm.
He stole from you. He's a 19-year-old drug addict. He says you don't use drugs. Is that true?
Yes, it is.
Why in the world would an attractive girl like you want to hook up with him?
Because I love him.
The uniformed groans out here, Christina. The uniformed groans out here, Christina.
Your Honor, he's cleaned up also.
What are you doing now, Mr. Coons?
My uncle owns a trucking company. I'm trying to get my Class A license to drive for him.
That doesn't tell me what you're doing now.
Moving. He owns a moving company.
That doesn't tell me what you're doing now.
I'm cleaning my act up. Making money.
So you want to be a mover.
Yeah, a driver.
What are you doing, Christina?
I work at Express and I'm a cosmetologist.
Is that what you want to do?
Hair? Yes, I do.
You living home?
Yes, I do.
Remember to take those pills every morning. Every morning. Maybe you'll wake up in time. Mr. Coons, did you go into a residential drug treatment program?
Yep.
For how long?
10 days.
That's a crash course, sir. That's a crash course. Did the program recommend that you go into residential treatment for a period of 18 months or whatever and stick with it?
Yeah, that's what they recommended, but...
And you decided that you didn't need that. Is that right?
That's right.
And you decided that you didn't need that despite the fact that you had stolen from Miss Hoffman, you stole from your girlfriend, you have half a dozen unresolved driving infractions. You had an accident with a car. All of those things don't suggest to you that maybe the professionals that told you a 10-day crash course doesn't make it. When you are so addicted to drugs, maybe instead of fooling around, you should go into a residential drug treatment program. But you knew better than the professionals, is that right?
Yeah.
Good girl, Christina. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,941. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The bank called me and said this doesn't look like your signature, so I, of course, called him up and said, hey, what's going on?
She couldn't believe it. And then I was like, you know, I had to admit it right there.
I was saying, you know what, I think something's wrong. I think he's on drugs. And we started drug testing him, and he actually admitted to it.
I want to get married and have kids and do everything, you know, stay clean, do the right thing.
Yes, I see us been together for a very long time.
I would really hope that he would clean up, but I've told her that, you know what, once they start being like this, they're never going to change.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McLean versus Clark. Step forward, please.
Meat cutter Michael McLean is suing the mother of his son, nurse Lachelle Clark, for the return of child support. Michael says money was taken from his paycheck while their son was living with him.
Mr. McLean, you and the defendant have a son together.
Yes, I do, ma'am.
And it is your claim that your son was living with you for a period of time at his mother's request.
Yes, ma'am.
And during that time, they were taking child support out of your check.
Yes.
And Miss Clark knew that the child was living with you, and she was the only one that could stop this child support
Yes, ma'am.
payment. She did not, and you want her to pay you back the money that you sent, or that
Yes,
was
ma'am.
taken out of your check, for your son while he was living with you.
Yes. I wanted her to stop it immediately.
And Miss Clark says, well, it was only temporary, and she was providing some things for him also.
Yes.
Right? Okay. How old is this child?
He's 11.
And why did he go and live with his father, Miss Clark?
He went to live with his father because at the present time, my landlord went up on my rent $300 because I had lost.
You were having a problem with housing.
Excuse me?
You were having a problem with housing?
Yes.
All right, that's the bottom line.
Michael McLean says the mother of his son, Lachelle Clark, accepted child support payments after their son started living with him.
So when did you call Mr. McLean and ask if he could take your son?
Around the 1st of January when I first started having my housing problem.
And when did he actually go to live with his father?
The 28th of January.
Is he still there?
Yes.
And how much is the child support order, Mr. McLean?
I want to say $272
A month.
What do you do for a living, Mr. McLean?
I'm a meat cutter, meat manager.
How many children do you have?
I got 3.
Do any of them live with you? You have to think
No.
about that? None of them live with you.
No.
Do you pay child support for any other children?
Yes, I do.
And what do you do for a living, Miss Clark?
I'm a nurse.
How many children do you have?
2.
Well, I know one is living with Mr. McLean. Where is the other child?
The other one is with his father also.
How much child support do you pay for your other child?
None.
Why not?
What do you mean? Because me and him have understanding. This thing right here, I can't have
Just
understanding.
listen to me. Listen to me very carefully, Miss Clark.
I do for my other son, as well as I do for Michael while he's staying with his father here.
Well, listen to me. Don't talk to me with attitude. There's only one attitude here, and that's mine.
I will.
Listen to me very carefully, madam. There's only one attitude here. And Officer Byrd will tell you that that attitude is mine. So let me give you a primer course in parenting. When 2 people have a child, it is the responsibility of both parents to support them. So that if while your son is living with his father and you buy him things, clothes,
And anything else he needs.
just a second, clothes, doctor's visits, extra school activities, sneakers, right? That's what you're supposed to do.
Okay.
You're also supposed to be responsible for your child's portion of his rent, gas, electric, food, telephone. That's what his father is taking care of. He's not supposed to be sending you money so that you can spend his money on clothes for your child. That's money that you're supposed to be paying out of the money you make from being a nurse. So when your son went to live with his father, the child support should have terminated. The truth of the matter is, while your son is living with his father, you should be paying his father child support. And if you're not paying child support to the father of your other child, when your other child's living there, you're doing the wrong thing too. So let's figure this out. There are 4.3 weeks in a month times 4. Oh, got to turn it on first. 4.3 times 4. No, that's wrong.
Can I have it?
Yeah, you figured
His
it
child
out.
support was stopped in April.
What?
His support was stopped in April. We went to
So
court
just
about
a
this
second.
matter.
It was stopped in April.
408.
April 8th. So we just need 2 months. So it's 272 times 2. $544.
That's right.
Where do you get $1,136 from?
I must have underestimated the cost of it, but I also wanted to where I had to go file for court.
I'm sure she had to go. I'm sure she had to go.
No, you
Yes.
Don't speak to each other. You want to speak to each other? You do that outside. Here, you only speak to me. Okay. So let's say you had him for an additional 3 weeks. It's approximately $150. That would be $694 that you paid for support while he was living with you.
Yes.
Is she paying child support now? Did she pay you any child support in April or May?
No, she haven't.
Got away with murder. What you should have done is when you went in to have the child support stopped, you should have sued her for child support. Put your hand down. As long as the child is living with you, you have the right to sue for child support against the non-custodial parent. Tap your fingers. You may not like the message, but don't kill the messenger. That's the law. Just like when your child is living with you, you sue the non-custodial parent. Just because he's a father doesn't mean you get a free ride. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $694. That's all.
All right, if you're excused, you may step out.
Pay $272 a month doesn't even put food on my table for 2 weeks. Okay, his son can eat a whole chicken.
Right now, I know she's kind of angry. She gonna probably want him back.
When he gets ready to go back for child support again, he gonna have to pay arrears. So I mean, I ain't worried about it. I ain't gonna worry about it. I ain't gonna sweat it.
I don't know where she come with that. I got 3 boys. I take care of all 3 of them.
I had to pray and beg for him to keep his son then. Okay, and the only reason he did it then is because he didn't want to pay child support.
Justice just paid off this time.
Friends.
Yes, they used to.
Well, you say that they didn't treat him nicely and they used him for rides and stuff when they needed him.
Right, Your Honor.
But at some point, according to you, this young man posted some very, very rude things about you.
Right, Your Honor.
On something called MySpace.
Right, Your Honor.
MySpace is one of these internet sites where people who have nothing better to do with their time go and chat about a whole bunch of nonsense.
Right, Your Honor.
Is that about what it is?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that about right?
Right.
That's about right.
You know, I always said that we could eliminate probably 1/3 of the problems in this country if people actually had to shovel coal in a furnace for heat rather than spending all that spare time that they have making problems for other people and sitting behind their computers doing things other than for which computers were originally designed. Mr. Luna says, First Amendment. I can post anything I like on the internet because there's free speech in this country. That is your defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
Really?
Yes.
Is that what you think the Constitution says, Mr. Luna?
Well, first of all...
I didn't ask you first of all. That required a yes or a no answer, sir. Is that what you think the Constitution says? That
Yes.
you can
Yes, Your Honor.
say anything you want to about anybody?
On certain grounds, yes. But I believe that I didn't write anything that really damaged her reputation as she claimed.
All right. Well, then let's see what you said, because I had no clue about what you said here. First, Mr. Luna, since there is no issue, sir, that you posted these things about Mrs. Mendelsohn on this internet site, I'd like to know why you did it.
Okay. Well, it all started when myself is
the same person, I assume, unless you're bipolar.
Me and my friends were talking just online, just joking while we were waiting for our classes. And then we just talked about certain stupid things, I know. And then...
You talked about stupid things while you were waiting for change of classes in college?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, we were online.
Who's paying for your school?
My father.
Your father is paying for you to
Yes.
be in school and talk about stupid things with you. Is that what you think you're paying for, sir?
Not really.
Good, perfect. Love to hear it. You and I are going to get along just fine. Go ahead.
Well, we were just waiting for our classes because
I don't care why you were waiting for your classes. I asked you why you said bad things about Mrs. Mendelssohn.
Well, it was just to relieve our stress and frustrations.
Why don't you
from
get a
her.
job?
Well, I had school. I'm a full-time college student.
Well, then why are you writing about Mrs. Mendelssohn to relieve your stress?
Because beforehand, she was making comments about us, me and my friends, specifically.
Oh, on the internet?
No, like to her son.
So she was having a private conversation with her son about you and your friends?
Yes, and then...
She's allowed to do that?
Yes, but it was very rude and very untrue. And she assumed many things, and she would tell him...
Who cares? Who cares what she assumed? She's having a private conversation with a child. She's not publishing anything. Let me see what you wrote about her.
I have it right here.
Did your father see it?
Yes,
When did you show it to him?
about a month ago.
When did you write it?
October 26th.
So why did you wait so long to show your father?
Well, because number one, I was trying to handle my own business, and then the month after October 26th, I actually forgot about the conversation, because that is a conversation between me and Derek.
You know what I find most distressing about this, Mr. Luna, is that you're illiterate, and so is your friend, and that your family is wasting a whole lot of money sending you to college and getting an illiterate person at the end. Mr. Luna?
Can I say something, Your
Mr.
Honor?
Luna, did you read this?
Yes, Your Honor. I read it lately, Your Honor.
Stand up, sir.
May I say something about the case, Your Honor?
No, you may say nothing about the case, sir. You may answer my questions. First of all, Mrs. Mendelssohn, I have just read this.
Yes.
Okay? This is not actionable, which means that you can sue, but you're not going to win. What is written here, if I can read it,
Yes,
because
Your Honor.
it looks like it's written by somebody who was educated in some third world country where they only go up to kindergarten. Watch what W-A-T, you say about her, cuz, C-U-Z. She might come to your house, Y-R, and do crazy, and that's a bad word, I'll leave that out, like castrating you and sewing I'll use a different word, testicles back on backwards and sewing your foot and you with it. Okay? It's stupid. Do you know what? That's what you're complaining about, right?
Yes,
Listen
Your
to me.
Honor.
Listen to me. I didn't know what he had said about you. What he said about you was stupid. Nobody takes it seriously. Nobody's thinking you're going to come to somebody's house and you're going to do that to them. He's just being stupid. So it doesn't even amount to free speech. It amounts to the rantings of some juvenile who's just being dumb. Do you understand?
Yeah. And I was really upset because...
Well, I can understand you were upset, but
I'm
that's
not
not
an immoral
actionable. Now,
person.
was this young man your friend, Mr. Luna?
Yes, we were very close.
You say some bad things about him.
Well, it was jokingly.
Well, it's not an answer, sir. You say if you were very, very close. Why do you say bad things about him in here?
It's friendly banter between us. That's what we do.
Who was bantering here? Not him.
Well, it's between
No.
me and...
Between you and him.
Yes.
Not you and him. You weren't bantering with each other, calling each other funky names. You were bantering with him, and you were making fun of him. Mr. Luna, that makes you not a very nice person when you say he was a friend of mine.
Yes, but all of us are friends. We do the same things to each other. But
Does he have a car?
Yes.
Do you have a car?
No.
Who drove you around?
Well, sometimes Irving drives me around, sometimes my friend recently. But it's not like I'm...
It's not like you're using him or anything.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Irving, stand up next to your mother. Did you ever tell this young man that your mother accused him of using drugs?
Not exactly.
And later today,
You had a court date you don't remember? What kind of court date did you have?
It was actually court for his paternity test.
Yes.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Anita Mendelssohn claims her son's former friend, Christian Luna, slandered her on the internet. Christian says he has the right to free speech.
Mr. Luna, your son did a disrespectful thing, but not actionable. So you don't have to worry. He doesn't have to pay Mrs. Mendelssohn any money. I don't know if he's a nice young man or not a nice young man. Only you know that.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Yes.
He's a nice young man. In fact, he helped Irving in his religion class, and he's kind of mentoring this guy I mean, they were friends, Your Honor, and it all
Did you read
started.
this?
Yeah, I know. I read it, but it all started when Mrs. Mendelssohn tried to blame my son and his friends that they are using drugs.
Yes.
And she's trying to, separate his son from these guys who are nice people. I just don't know why Mrs. Mendelssohn is so mad at my son.
Maybe you want to tell me, Mrs. Mendelssohn?
The truth, Your Honor, is that I never said that they're using drugs. It was a lie. What I told my son is that because I saw a lot of this abuse from Christian sending all those messages against him, and I told my son, stop giving him a ride and transfer to other school. And I didn't mention anything about drugs. You're wrong.
Who told you that Mrs. Mendelssohn accused you of using drugs?
Her son.
He told you?
Yes.
Irving, stand up next to your mother. Did you ever tell this young man that your mother accused him of using drugs?
Not exactly.
What do you mean, not exactly, Irving?
Well, she said that she doesn't want me hanging around people who do drugs.
Okay, so?
And in that sense, that's what I said to Christian.
But she never accused Christian of doing drugs? No. That's your answer, Mr. Luna. What else?
I would just like to clear something out. I didn't use Irving. Don't just randomly call him and like, oh, can you give me a ride to this so-and-so place? I would ask him a ride if we were going there together. But I've never used them just
Christian, I want you to listen to me very carefully.
Okay.
Having access to a machine like a computer and access to a place like MySpace where you can say very damaging and hurtful things doesn't mean that you should use it. When you write something like this, even though it sounds asinine, juvenile, and stupid, it was still hurtful to Mrs. Mendelssohn. It's not the kind of thing that the courts will take action about, but it's the kind of things that you shouldn't write about one person because it's just unkind. And you can't hide behind the cloak of anonymity when you do that because it's out there for millions and millions and millions of people to read. And it's hurtful. And I say this to you and to your friends and to you and anybody else who uses the internet. Once you put something down and go send, or whatever you do, because I don't use that machine, it's out there, and it's out there forever, and it's hurtful. You have to be careful. Now, what your son said about her was unkind.
I know that, Your Honor.
Very good. Then you're telling me he did the wrong thing? Tell him to apologize to her?
In fact,
say, shh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Mendelssohn.
Okay.
That's it.
Just don't do it again, ever.
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I agree with Judge Judy that what I wrote is obscene.
I just hope he will stop the abuse towards my son now.
And I agree that it was offensive.
All parties in the matter of Corville versus Corville. Step forward, please.
Tina Corville is suing her estranged daughter-in-law, Jennifer Corville, for an unpaid loan and car insurance payments. Jennifer says Tina's son is a deadbeat.
This is the son?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is your soon-to-be ex-daughter-in-law. It is your claim that while she and your son were living in your home, you made a series of loans to her.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Corville says that you made gifts to her because she was the only one working in her family. Your son wasn't working, so she needed some car payments made in order to get her back and forth to work, and some insurance payments made on the car. I have a few questions.
Yes, Your Honor.
How old are you?
25.
What do you do for a living?
I'm unemployed at the moment.
How long have you been unemployed?
For not that long, because I had a job January 1st whenever I had put her out.
Listen to me. Listen to me. How long have you been unemployed?
Since January 1st.
Of 2007?
Yes, ma'am.
Prior to January 1st, 2007, your mother says that you weren't working a good part of the time.
Ma'am.
That's what your mother says.
Yes,
Is she
ma'am,
lying?
That's true. No, ma'am, that's true.
How long did you have the January job?
Not long, because I didn't even
Just
go
don't tell me because.
No, ma'am, I hadn't gone offshore. It was an offshore job, and I didn't have a ride to go offshore. That's why I didn't have that job. I hadn't
So
even
you
worked
didn't
one
have
day.
a job?
I had the job. I got hired.
When was the
took-
last time that you got a paycheck, Mr.
I
Corville?
didn't get a paycheck from them because I never worked one day
Mr.
because
Corville, I
I didn't
want
have
you
a
to
ride.
listen to, put on your listening ear, sir.
Okay.
When was the last time, month and year, that you had a paycheck? Think hard.
2006, and I can't give you the exact month.
Well, give me close to the
Okay.
exact month.
About the 10th month, or maybe even the 9th.
What would that be, the 9th month?
The 9th month
Yeah.
is September. Took me a while.
Good. September. Now, in August, who did you work for?
Pizza Hut,
Doing what?
delivery driver.
How long did that last?
Not long.
Why?
because I was told I couldn't use the car to do it no more. I was putting wear and tear on our car.
Your Honor, that was our car at the time. I was a manager at Pizza Hut.
Listen, you know what kind of sympathy I have for you? Zero. You picked him. And not only did you pick him, but you picked him, and you have a child.
Okay, I was just clarifying it.
You know, put your hand down. Sometimes it's better to be alone. Sometimes the loneliest you can be is when you're with somebody.
Yep.
Your son, who is without a job, moves in with you, with his wife and her child.
Yes, ma'am.
How old was he when he left home?
He's been in and out of home since he's 12 years old.
In and out of your home?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, how did you feel about it when he told you he was getting married?
Didn't know the girl long enough.
But she has a job, right?
Yeah, at the time she did have a job, yes, ma'am.
Now, your son had no job at the time?
At the time?
At the time?
At the time he did have a job.
Doing what?
He did sheet metal.
What happened to that job?
He had differences with the guy.
Yeah, the guy fired me because I asked for a raise.
And what did he say when you asked him for a raise?
He told me he didn't feel that I deserved it, and if I felt like I really needed it, I could go look for a job elsewhere because I no longer had one with him.
No, that's not what he said.
Yes,
he said, I don't feel as if you deserve it. If you feel as if you deserve more, go elsewhere.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, he didn't say that you can't have a job with him. He said, go elsewhere.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you went elsewhere.
Yes, ma'am.
Where'd you go?
To Pizza Hut.
Was that paying more than your sheet metal job?
Yes, ma'am.
Nah.
With the tips, yes,
No.
ma'am. Okay.
Now, tell me about this first loan. After they got married, they moved in with you because he's not working, right?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
Were they paying rent in your house?
Not at the beginning, no.
Were they paying rent later?
When the second go around, they were going to pay rent. They moved in twice last year.
Fine. Well, the second time they moved in, did they pay rent?
1 month.
How much?
$150.
And who paid the rent?
My son.
What was he doing?
He was working for
Trim.
Newcom.
Yeah.
What happened to that job?
We had went and we had a court date for me and her both to attend to, and we asked the
What kind of court date?
I don't really remember, to be honest with you.
You had a court date you don't remember?
Yes,
What kind of
ma'am.
court date did you have?
It was actually court for his paternity test.
Yeah.
It wasn't nothing to do with me.
But
For
we
a
left.
quiet. For a paternity test for what?
His second child.
He has children?
Yes, ma'am.
Wunderbar.
He has two, one for two different women.
Now, how much money in total did you give Miss Corville?
$958.
Tell me what it was for.
In January.
January of what?
Of 2006. She bought a car with her income tax. Didn't have money for the insurance, so I loaned her $200.
Just a second. Tell me about what she didn't have money for the insurance, and she said to you
she would pay me back.
Did you have that discussion with her or with your son?
With her.
Tell me about the discussion.
She said that she would help us, give us the money because of the fact he was out of work. And she didn't want to see us without a car because if we didn't have a car, we were unable to work.
Was he
And that she
working?
said-
Was he working at the time?
No, ma'am.
Did you subsequently get a job, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you did? Good. Where did you get a job?
That's whenever I went to the electrical company.
And how did you get to the electrical company?
She had brought me a few occasions.
Who did?
Miss Jennifer.
Your wife?
My wife, yes, ma'am.
What's next?
In May, she called me at work crying because she had a payday loan that she had taken before they were married, crying because she was going to get arrested. Could she please borrow some money?
Is that right?
It is.
Good. How much was that?
$305.80.
80.
That you owe her. Go ahead.
Then in September the 19th, their ABC insurance canceled. So they had to find new insurance.
They had to find new insurance.
She had to find new insurance.
Where were you working? You told me you were working in September, sir.
Yes, ma'am. That's whenever we were both working at Newcom.
Oh, okay, so you were both working.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were using her car to get there.
Yes, ma'am.
Ah, good. Perfect.
So I paid her down payment for $155.
That's
for
fine.
the Geico.
That ensures that your son is working.
She was short $100 because they both lost their jobs. She was short $100, so to keep her car, I put the $100 difference in pay that she would pay me find another job.
Why'd you get him to pay you some money?
It wasn't his car.
He was using it. They were a married couple.
No,
listen.
she's
Miss Corville.
I had lost
Your son
3
put her
jobs.
out of the house when?
January 1st, 2007. Why?
What was my question?
I couldn't use the car to go find a job, nothing. She had stopped letting me use the car, everything. That was her
Really?
fault.
And you had been using the car to go and look for a job?
No, ma'am.
Well, you said
hadn't
she
let me.
stopped.
Yeah,
let you
like
use
she hadn't let me. And within 3 months since we had been back over there, I had got a job and went to Houma. That was the only time.
So that's why you threw her out?
Yes, ma'am, because I was supposed to be leaving to go offshore and she wouldn't bring me.
Go ahead.
He didn't get a job in Houma. He actually went to Houma to get a job. He failed his drug test, and he was unable to work offshore. So he actually didn't
What
work.
kind of drugs were you taking that you failed the drug test?
None.
You mean the test was a mistake?
No, ma'am. I was going offshore.
So you didn't fail the drug
No,
test?
ma'am.
Would you like to take one today?
Doesn't matter.
She owes you for the payday loan. That she owes you for. For the car, consider it a contribution to your son. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $305.80. That's all. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I hope I did hear the end of it. Judge Judy sure did fill me with some justice.
If that's what she wants to believe, let her live in her land. I don't care.
And I hope that I never hear from these people again.
All parties in the matter of Solara versus Lara, step forward, please.
27-year-old Angela Solura is suing her ex-boyfriend, 24-year-old Freddie Lara, for a loan to restore his Mustang. Freddie claims Angela paid the bill without consulting him.
Mr. Lara, it is your claim that the defendant, who is an old boyfriend of yours, owes you some money.
Correct.
For a loan that you made to him. And the purpose of the loan was to have an old car fixed.
Yes.
This was a specialty car?
It's just, it's going to be a classic soon. It's just a car I always wanted
Me
to fix
too.
up.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Lara?
I clean windows on high rises.
That's a pretty dangerous job.
Yeah,
How long have you been doing that?
like 7, 8 years now.
Make a good living?
Yeah, except when they lay you off.
Well, you don't do it when it's windy or snowing or raining.
Right.
How much do you make a year?
Anywhere from 48 to 68,000 a year.
And how many people do you support?
Just myself.
What kind of car is this that you have?
It's a 1986 Ford Mustang GT.
And your age, sir?
24 now.
Got a lot of money in the bank?
No, unfortunately.
Do you own a home?
No, I'm working on it. I'm renting an apartment for now.
Well, you make a lot of money. What do you do with all your money?
It's expensive to live in New York.
You don't put any money away?
No, I try. Not really.
You need a good woman, sir, to help you out. You also have a claim for harassment. It is your claim that he's been making harassing phone calls to you, and it's because you believe it's because you confronted his now girlfriend and told her that he was still involved with you.
She did not know about the payments. She never knew. He began dating her a week after we broke up, and she just found out about our involvement beginning of January
How
of
did
this
she
year.
find out?
She found a text message in his phone.
Is that right, sir?
Yes, sir, because she was harassing.
She was harassing for what?
Yeah, she was mad about the breakup, so she
She
couldn't
mad
leave
about
me
the
alone.
breakup, or did she ask you for money?
She was harassing me about everything.
Was money involved?
Yes.
These are not hard questions, sir. Now, tell me about this loan.
We were dating for about a year, and within that time, he needed some major repair work done on the car. It was worth using for transportation, or rather him. I don't drive. I don't have a license.
So he was driving you around?
Yes. I used to live with him, and where we live, you cannot get around unless you have a car.
How long did you live together?
About 9 months.
Where were you living at the time? In your apartment?
Staying with my mom at the time.
So how were you living together? Where did you live together?
In his bedroom.
At his mother's house?
In his mother's house.
Just a second. In his mother's house. So neither one of you were paying any rent?
I did I tried to give them money as much as I could.
Don't tell me tried. I'm not interested in your trying. So you weren't paying any rent? And you weren't paying any rent?
We were, when we could.
Well, sir, if you make $50,000 a year, it seems to me you could help out with your own rent. What does your mother do for a living?
She's a stay-at-home mom.
Well, how does she support herself?
Her boyfriend.
And she had the two of you living there?
Yes, correct.
Tell me about the loan.
He needed some major repair work done on the car. The car was not running, and he asked if he could use my credit card because I don't have any money except for my credit card, and he told me he would pay me back. So I lent him the credit card, and within that time, he was making payments to me weekly.
To you or to the credit card?
He was giving them to me, and I was paying the credit card because the credit card was in my name.
How much was he giving you?
Anywhere from $100 to $200 a week.
Tell me when you actually put the bill on your credit card. What was the date?
Between June and July, 7 transactions were put on the credit card in the amount of about $5,000.
I'd like to see it.
Sure.
Who had physical possession of the credit card?
I did.
So how would this money be placed on the credit card?
A few times I went with him to use the credit card, and there were a few times where I just gave him the card. And I never used the credit card, Your Honor, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 times. It was all of the car repairs.
Who has the car now?
It's his car. He has it.
When did you break up?
August 26th of 2006.
So shortly after the car was taken
Yes.
care of. Now, Mr. Lara, I read your answer. Your answer says that you had made an arrangement with the place that was fixing your car, that you were going to pay them out.
Yes.
And she took it upon herself to go in with a credit card and pay the bill. But that's not true, because there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different times that the credit card was used. It was more than one time, so you must have known about it.
Yes, I did.
And did you say, don't do it because I'm going to pay them
Absolutely.
out?
I insisted that she didn't do it.
Each time you said, don't do it because I'm going to pay them out.
She said it's something we both need, so...
I believe that. No, I believe that. Listen to me, Mr. Lara. I believe that she said to you, listen, I use the car, because she did use the car. So she said, we're both using the car, so I'm going to pay for it. Instead of paying them, pay me. And she says that you were giving her money, Mr. Lara.
Yeah, I felt bad. I didn't want her to spend so much for
Now,
a gift.
you felt bad when you were living together?
Yes.
Speak up!
Yes.
Scared to death of me or what? Are you always this low energy, sir?
Yes.
It's very hard to get excited with you, Mr. Lara. Mr. Lara, I want you to pay careful attention to all my words, sir. While you were living together, you felt badly about what she spent on the car, on your car, so you were giving her money.
Yes.
After you broke up, you stopped feeling badly, so you stopped giving her money. Is that what you're telling me?
She kept on harassing...
No, don't tell me her. I don't want to hear harassing. I want to hear, while you were living together and using the car together, listen, I want you to follow the logic of this. You were paying her while you were together and using the car together, right?
Yes.
After you broke up with her and started to see your new girlfriend and she wasn't using the car anymore with you, you didn't feel badly anymore, so you stopped giving her money.
Well, I didn't want it to interfere with my relationship. She kept harassing me because things with her, who she was trying to get with, wasn't going well because of the breakup.
I don't give a rat's behind what you think. I asked you a very simple question, and you understand my question, because I don't think there's total vacancy between your ears, sir. While you were together and both using it, you paid her for laying out the money. When you were no longer together and she wasn't using the car, you stopped paying her. That's what you're telling me. That's objective, not what you thought, what you felt. That's what happened. Doesn't that sound stupid to you?
No, because it was a gift.
Mr. Lara, I know that you have this word gift in your mind, but what you did in paying her belies the fact that it was a gift, sir. You paid her for the credit card. Hundreds and hundreds of dollars, according to her, because she's only suing you for what she claims is the balance, which is $3,400. And the total was close to $5,000 to fix the car. So you paid her a lot of money to pay down the credit card. Do you understand, sir?
Yes.
Was he more exciting when you were together?
He had his moments.
Few and far between.
He has a problem with confrontation, Your Honor.
There's a problem with confrontation?
Yes.
Oh, and I love confrontation. That's why we don't get along. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,400. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You may step out.
Changed my number. Somehow she called my mom and got my new number.
He is correct. I was able to get his new phone number.
She kept on calling me and leaving me text messages.
It was to get my money back. That was it.
We split up and she doesn't find it was a good enough reason for a breakup.
That was in August. I've had time to get over it.
I'm glad it's over.
I'm very happy I can put a closure on this now.
According to you, the defendant slashed 3 of the tires on your car.
Correct.
You want him to be responsible for replacing them. Mr. Spielman says he didn't do it. What's your first name?
Andrew.
How old are you, Andrew? 23.
23.
How long do you know Mr. Spielman?
I've known Mr. Spielman since about the 7th grade.
On what night were you out together, the night that the tires were slashed?
I believe it was a Friday night. I don't remember the exact
Remember the
date.
night?
29th, I think.
29th of?
December.
Where had you been?
We were on our way to Randy White's brother-in-law's boss's house.
You were driving?
Yes, I was driving.
What happened in the car?
An argument started because Brett Spielman wanted to get some marijuana and everybody else in the car was against that. And
Where did he want to go to get the marijuana?
To his dealer's house.
And did you know where that was?
No, I did not.
Did he tell you where it was?
No, he did not.
Was it on the way?
I hadn't even agreed to it, so he didn't get to the point of telling me where it was
Well,
at.
tell me exactly what he said.
He said, I want to go get some pot, can you take me? And I said no, and nobody else in this car wants to do that. Can you please stop with that altogether?
How many other people were in the car?
2, besides me and Brett.
And who are they?
Randy White and Brandon, his brother-in-law, which I do not know his last name.
So what happened?
So I said no, and he started ranting and raving and basically turned it into an argument with Randy White, and they were going back and forth, and I didn't want to hear it anymore, so I said please stop, because they didn't get along anyway. So it basically had turned into an argument with them, and I said...
Where was he sitting, in the front or the back?
He was sitting in the front seat, beside me.
Okay, go ahead.
And then we had arrived to Randy's boss's house. We had both got out of the car while Randy and his brother-in-law went upstairs. We were downstairs smoking a cigarette, and it was going to take a turn to get violent because he was saying threats and all this.
Against whom?
Against me.
Why was he threatening you? I thought he was having an argument with Randy.
The argument was with Randy, but I took involvement in it because Randy was a lot smaller than him, and I didn't want it to go there, so I stepped up in Randy's place, and then
And
basically
what did you say to him?
The focus came on me. I said, you need to stop all this right now or I'm going to make you walk home. And he said, you're not going to make me walk home, this and that. And
Had he been
drinking?
Had he been drinking?
No, I do not think he had been drinking.
It was just nasty?
Yeah, he was just nasty with me.
Okay, keep going.
And then Randy and his brother-in-law had come back down, and we all got in the car, and I said I'm going to make him walk home because he's just being too defiant for any of us to deal with.
What did he say when you told him he was going to walk home?
He got even worse. But
Well, tell me what he said, Mr. Peck.
he was using a lot of cuss words, a lot of profanity, a lot of I'm going to everybody in that car, and just threats.
And that was on the 29th of December.
Yes.
What time?
I would say it was about 8 p.m.
Okay. Now let's fast forward a little bit, Ms. Powers. Tell me about the incident involving your tires. When did that take place?
December 30th.
What time?
I would say around shortly before 10, but not exactly. I don't know.
So tell me what happened.
Okay, it was a very, very stormy night. The wind was blowing and howling, and it was raining a lot. And the dog was circling the front door. And she was like yipping and barking, and she doesn't usually have that kind of behavior at all unless someone's at the door. But I opened the door and nobody was there. She kept doing it. So I opened the door again, and Mr. Spielman was standing on the other side of the car. My driveway comes up where the car is parked directly outside my front door, so I can clearly see it. And I said, what are you doing? Because it's kind of late to be coming over. And I thought he was coming to see my son, and just looked at me and took off.
Didn't say anything to you. Okay, keep going.
The next day I got up to go to work, and I, of course, didn't see the first tire because it was fine. Walked around the car and saw 1, 2, 3 tires flat. And so I called someone to come and take me to get new tires and called into work.
Okay, when did you see Andrew?
I saw him later that day.
Do you remember that day, Andrew?
Not too clearly. I remember her saying that 3 of my tires were slashed. Do you have any idea who would do it? And I said, I most certainly have an idea of who did it.
Well, I also...
Shut up!
Okay.
Don't speak. You said, I most certainly have an idea who did it.
Yes, regarding the incident.
And so you told your mother about the incident.
Yes.
And what did your mother say to you?
And then she said, I seen Brett in our driveway. I was thinking he would come up to get you, because at the time she didn't think I was enemies with Brett. And I said, well, that's who did it.
Okay. So when you said to her, I certainly do, and then she said to you, I
saw Brett in the driveway.
And
then we knew right there who it was.
Okay, good.
I just didn't think Brett would have done anything like that to me.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Spielman. Now I'm listening to you.
The statement's completely false.
Listen to me. Let's get to the car on the 29th of December.
Okay, cool. We were in the car.
Look at me. Don't look over there. You're in the car.
We are in the car. We do have a conflicting argument about something. Okay, marijuana. I do what I do when my time away from me.
Let's go slowly. You're in the car and you have an argument. You have an argument about what?
I really cannot even remember. Honestly, don't remember.
You just told me it was about marijuana.
If it was about marijuana, I'm saying I'm not denying that, because I do smoke marijuana on my pastime from time to time.
So that if Andrew says that the argument was about stopping to buy marijuana, that would be
It could
accurate.
have been, but it couldn't have been.
Well, if you don't remember, sir, then I have to credit Andrew's account of the evening of the 29th, because that would seem to be something that you would remember. Where do you live?
Sacramento.
And how far did you have to walk home?
I didn't walk home. See, that's where the story changes. He ended up giving me a ride home.
Did you ultimately give him a
No,
ride
I
home?
did not give him a ride home, Your Honor.
Okay. Did he threaten to leave you stranded?
Yes, he did, but it was raining pretty bad outside, so I kind of negotiated my way to get a ride home.
What do you mean you kind of negotiated?
Well, I
your
said
way to
it's
drive?
kind of raining out and I don't have a coat, and the wood keep kind of messed up. I had to walk home.
You've known this family for a very long time.
Very
How old
long
are you
time.
now?
21 years old.
Currently on probation?
Juvenile, almost off. I'm going National Guard.
Yes, you're currently on probation.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been on probation?
Since I was like 17.
Keep going.
Okay. Are we still on the 29th or are we going the 30th?
No, we're past the 29th. I credit Mr. Geraldson's account of what happened on the 29th, sir. I believe he told me the truth. I believe you had an argument starting with Randy, ending up with Andrew about your desire to stop at the person who supplies you with marijuana, to get some marijuana, and they didn't want to do
anything,
it.
though.
I'm speaking. And they didn't want to do it, and you became aggressive, and that's what the argument was about. So since you don't remember something that I probably would remember, but something that clearly you don't remember.
It was a year ago.
Well, I would remember, sir, a falling out that I had with a child.
He wasn't a very good friend. He always
Why don't you
bickers.
let me finish my statement, sir? Listen to the statement that I'm going to say to you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So is what you're telling me, sir, that you were together with your mother and the rest of your family?
Yes, I am.
And if I were to ask you, you would tell me that your son was home with you?
And later today,
Together off and on suggests to me that when it was off, it was because it wasn't good, right?
Yes.
Did you think having a baby was going to make it better?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 23-year-old Andrew Geraldson says his former friend, Brett Spielman, slashed 3 of his tires. Andrew claims his mother witnessed the incident.
If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory. Do you know what that means, Mr. Spielman?
Honestly, I do.
Tell me what it means.
It means if I know what happened, I don't have to remember. Look for the answer.
Right. That's what it means. So you're telling me it was over a year ago?
Over a year ago.
I'm speaking. And therefore you can't quite remember everything that happened that evening. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
So if you don't remember what happened on the evening of the 29th, which clearly, you're in a car with people, there's a big argument, it's raining very badly, you have to negotiate your way back to the car in order to get a ride home. These are all little smatterings of things that you remember, right? Little smatterings of things that you remember.
Yeah.
You don't remember all of it, but you remember little pieces of it.
Most of it.
You remember most of it.
Yes.
So the argument was about marijuana.
Yes, it was. I feel
Perfect. Now that your memory has been refreshed, why don't you tell me about the 30th?
The 30th.
Look at me.
The 30th. Well, my mom can vouch for it. I was with her.
Don't ask your mom to vouch for anything, sir. I'm asking you.
On the 30th, I was at my residence from 6 o'clock in the night, and I fell asleep on my couch with my entire family with a movie night. The night before New Year's Eve, my mom volunteers at a local social club she's involved in on New Year's Eve, so we always are together on most holidays and that night usually.
Well, just a minute. I don't understand something. Does your mother volunteer her time?
I'm
speaking!
Will you?
Does your mother volunteer her time at a social club, sir, so that she's not home on the 30th, so the rest of your family gets together? Is that what you're just telling me?
No, the night before we all stay together because we're going to be separated on New Year's Eve.
So is what you're telling me, sir, that you were together with your mother and the rest of your family?
Yes, I am.
And if I were to ask you, you would tell me that your son was home with you?
Yes, ma'am.
That would be unfortunate. That would be unfortunate.
I'm sorry.
I have a couple of questions for you. What does he do for a living?
He's going to the National Guard. He's been working.
So the answer is he doesn't do anything.
He's not working currently, no.
And he's not going to school?
No.
And how long have you permitted that circumstance?
He's only not worked a few months. He's going...
A few months is a very long time for somebody who's 21 years old and on probation. What did he do before a couple of months ago? Who did he work for?
A company called Prologics.
What kind of work did he do?
Warehouse work.
And why did he leave that job?
They merged with Iced.
So he got fired?
Laid off.
How many children? Did I ask you a question?
No, you didn't, but it's just making me sound worse than I am, you know? Be fair, too.
I don't mind being fair, sir, when people tell me the truth.
I'm honestly telling you the truth.
Oh, no, you're not. The sweat on your brow tells me you're not.
I'm on TV.
Did you see sweat there? Look. You see sweat there?
No.
There. Look at your mother. Is she sweating? You know why she's not sweating? Because I didn't ask her what happened on the 30th. That's why she's not sweating. If I asked her what happened on the 30th, I guarantee you she'd be, when I got finished with her, she'd be sweating. How much were the tires?
Our tires were popped, too.
I'm not asking you a question.
I have the invoice here.
Can I see it, please?
Excuse me, Judge.
Yes.
May I submit my receipt for towing?
Absolutely. I'd like to see it, please. So between the towing and the tires, you have $394. Is that right?
Roughly, yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $394. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you. You're lucky your probation wasn't violated.
He chose to act as a coward and slash my mom's tires.
A variety of his friends could have done it.
In the future, if he wants to give me back, and give me back to my face.
We were not really friends anymore, kind of falling out.
None of you was sort of helping him out at a time that he needed to be helped out financially. He's counterclaiming because he says that in a fit of rage, you damaged his car, his clothes, and he also believes that you harassed him. That's his counterclaim. So tell me when you met him.
I met him in August of last year.
And when did you lend him the money?
Of last year.
Tell me about it.
John had lost his job and he couldn't pay his rent.
When did he lose the job?
November.
What kind of job did you have, Mr. Bambino?
Car salesman, ma'am.
How long did you have that job with that company?
7 months.
Before that, where did you work?
As a correction officer for the state of New Jersey.
How long were you working there?
15 years.
Go ahead.
In December, I was coming into some money through a lawsuit, and I had extra money, and you know, he asked me to lend him his rent money for the month of December, and that's what it was. I lent him the money.
How much was it?
It was $1,200.
$1,200 for rent. Go ahead.
And one bill is $452.07.
What was that for?
A home entertainment system.
Who bought a home entertainment
that
system?
I bought for him, that he was supposed to pay me back for.
No. Miss Smoot, listen to me carefully. If somebody doesn't have money to pay his own rent, then you don't buy him a home entertainment center and expect him to pay you back. You're not a baby, right?
Right, Your Honor.
What else?
Cable bill, $100. I have a check that he wrote, that I gave him a blank check to take to the doctors that has his name in the memo for $80.
Did she give you a blank check to pay a doctor?
Yes, ma'am.
What else?
A gas bill for $100 in December.
$100 even?
Well, it was, his gas bill is way more than that, but I only paid $100 on it.
Go ahead.
2 checks for food, one for $87.40 and one for $42.71.
Made out to whom?
To Acme.
Did you use those 2 checks?
No, I wrote them.
He doesn't know you for that.
Okay.
What else?
That's it.
Okay, Mr. Bambino. Ball is in your court, sir. Where are you working now?
Chevrolet 73.
So you're back to work?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. So Ms. Smoot says that you said, if you pay my rent, as soon as I get a job, I'll pay you back. You say that's not true. Tell me what happened, Mr. Bambino. By the way, how old are you, sir?
43.
Have you been married?
Yes, ma'am.
You have children?
I have 2 daughters.
How old are they?
17 and 24.
When did you last live with them?
I have custody of my younger. Actually, I've had custody of both since my divorce in '98. I have custody of my youngest now.
So how are you supporting the children?
My mother helps me out, but I mean, I just ran into a tough time between, like, let's say the Monday before Thanksgiving, and I started my new job January 5th.
Right.
So it was approximately 6 weeks.
So what you're telling me is your mother helps you out.
She helped me out in that particular time frame, yes, in the beginning of January.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
I met Tina, as she said, in the middle of August. We started the date.
Would you try looking at me rather than keeping your eyes closed? It's disrespectful.
I'm sorry. I met her in the middle of August at a club over in Philadelphia. Approximately 2 weeks later, she accused me of staring at a woman on the track. She told me to get in her Jeep. She started to give me a ride, which was the ride from hell. She just started driving down the interstate, doing approximately 70, 75 miles an hour, weaving in and out of traffic.
But after that, you took money from her.
No, well, ma'am, it's...
Listen to me. After that, you took money from her, so I'm not interested in a ride.
I didn't take money.
Yes, you did.
She gave me the money, ma'am.
That's not what I said. I said you took money from her.
Yes.
After the ride from hell, which would have put me in a different county from somebody like that, you took money from her.
Yes.
Right. Did you think that the story you were going to tell me was going to make you a sympathetic character?
Not at all.
Good. Let's get to the money. Come on.
Oh, well, after several pretty bizarre things that Tina pulled between September and December, I tried cutting off the relationship several times. Tina's texts me 15, 20 times a day, calls me, begs me to let her back into our relationship, start our relationship over.
Is this your child?
No, ma'am. She's a witness in this factor. Tina, I let back in approximately times between September 1st all the way up to the February 11th. She just constantly says I'm cheating on her.
You want to know something? You want to tell the sad story? Go on Dr. Phil. Right. I want to know about the money.
The money. Tina would manipulate things and try to get me to let her back in. And after 3 or 4 weeks of constant texting me every day and please begging me to let her come back and start the relationship over, I did it several times. Tina...
Bambino, listen to me carefully. Get to the money.
I am.
In December, she may be desperate and she may find something about you attractive. Mr. Bambino, I do not.
I know that.
You are 43 years old. You look every day of it.
I know.
And then some. And Mr. Bambino, and then some. I have children who are 43 years old, sir. That's not you. That's the first thing. Second thing is, let's get to the money in December. Excuse me, you date him? No. Perfect. Get to the money.
All right, I let Tina come back over in early December. She laid $1,200 on my couch and said, pay your bills with this. I don't care when you give it back to me, just pay your bills. She insisted. I did pay. I paid my rent with it, of course. The other things, the utilities, she paid $100 for the heating bill.
Mr. Bambino, how do you think Miss Smoot knew that you didn't pay your utility bills and that you didn't pay your rent? How do you think?
By communicating with
By you telling
me.
her.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that kind of casual conversation that inspired her to leave the $1,200 on the table for you?
Yes, ma'am.
Ah. And it was at that time that you were concerned about her bizarre behavior that she exhibited 6 or 7 times.
Over that 6-month frame, yes.
Now, you were a corrections officer for 15 years, sir. You knew that there were certain prisoners that were dangerous,
sure.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you were dealing with a dangerous prisoner, there were certain protocols. You made sure that you didn't put yourself in harm's way. That was your training, right?
Absolutely.
So here you're dealing with a lunatic, somebody who over the course of 6 or 7 months is doing crazy, bizarre things. So instead of cutting it off, you know where the courthouse is. So if you know if somebody is stalking you, somebody is annoying you, you go to the courthouse and you say, this person is stalking me, annoying me, I need a protective order. Instead, you had somebody stalking you, you took their money. No. You took their money. I didn't say loan, I didn't say gift, I said you took their money. Well, you did. You just told me that, Mr. Bambino. You told me she was stalking you, harassing you, doing all kinds of bizarre things, and she put $1,200 down on the table, and she paid your bills, and you took it. That's what you just told me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You have to be a nice man, Mr. Bambino.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tina Smoot claims ex-boyfriend John Bambino owes for a loan to help with his living expenses. John is countersuing for harassment and claims Tina intentionally damaged his property.
Okay. Now, it is your claim, Mr. Bambino, your counterclaim, that the plaintiff damaged your property, harassed you, and damaged your clothing. You want to tell me when that happened and where?
First week in November, Tina was going to North Carolina for a wedding.
And when did she give you the money, sir?
December.
On a sympathy scale, sir, of 1 to 10, this is about going to be a -5, because what you're going to tell me is that she, again, acted like a nut, but you took money from her the next month, right?
Yes.
Keep going.
She told me she would let me borrow her Jeep. I dropped off my friend's automobile that I was using at the time, which was a female friend of mine for 18 years. Tina, in the process, went in the glove box and found out who the car belonged to. She took a pen and ripped the whole roof of the inside of the car, ripped the leather on the seats, took a soda and threw it all over my clothes in the back. That's the incident in November.
Why did you do that, Tina?
I didn't go to that extreme.
What did you... Tina.
What happened?
Why did you do it?
I didn't do that, Your Honor.
Yes, you did. You did some of it.
I called him and told him to bring my Jeep.
What did you do to the stuff
I
in
poured
the car?
soda on his clothes. That was
You
all.
poured soda on his clothes. Is there a police report with regard to the damage to this friend's car?
No, ma'am, but I have pictures.
It's not your car.
It's not my car.
Did you fix the car?
Not yet.
Then you're not the person who can file this claim against Miss Smoot. That would be the car owner.
Yes, ma'am.
And as far as throwing soda on your clothes,
So what?
you owe her $1,480. You have to be a nice man, Mr. Bambino.
I'm a very nice man.
No, you're not. If she's a nut, you're not supposed to take advantage of people who are not balanced. If you actually believe that Miss Smoot is not balanced, then what you're supposed to do is not be a cad and take advantage of her financially. You're supposed to say, I don't want your money. I don't want it as a gift. I don't want it as a loan. I don't want you in my life. I don't want that at all because I don't think you're balanced. I think that you should take this money and use it well by going to see a doctor who will maybe give you some medication to help you feel better. Instead, what you did is you took advantage of her because you're not a nice person. Nice people don't take advantage of sick people. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,480. Your counterclaims dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It was all a big joke to him anyhow.
That's totally not the case. It's totally not the case.
She thinks that something's going on between us. We're just co-workers. She's a little insane. She needs some medicine.
That's what she thinks.
I feel bad because she's not a bad person. She's got two beautiful daughters.
First of all, I don't have two daughters. I have a daughter and a son.
I'm not going to date women ever again.
I will never let anybody take advantage of me again.
I'm going to do a background check and...
All parties in the matter of Zuloff versus Steck. Step forward, please.
Jacqueline Zuloff is suing her mom, Shelley Steck, for the return of a '97 Pontiac Sunfire. Shelley says the car is titled in her name.
Ms. Zuloff, this is your mom.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, you believe that your mom conned you out of a car.
Yes, ma'am.
Your mother says that she did in fact purchase it from you and paid you for it. Tell me about the car. When did you buy it?
I purchased the car on February 9th, 2006.
How much did you pay for it?
I paid $400 for the car.
Who did you purchase it from?
It was a friend of my uncle's.
What kind of car was it?
It's a 97 Pontiac Sunfire.
Okay. Now I'll hear your story.
Okay. On July 31st, 2006, I went into labor with my daughter.
How old are you?
I'm 19.
Are you married?
No.
Who do you live with?
My father.
Go ahead.
We had contacted my mother while we were at the hospital. Her engine had blown up in her car. When she arrived at the hospital, she asked to borrow my car because that way she could come back when I actually went into labor.
And you said, yes, you can borrow my car.
Yes, I did. The agreement was 2 weeks. After my mother had borrowed the car, after the 2 weeks, we had talked again, and at the time, I wasn't working.
What month was this?
This was probably around the end of October, beginning of November.
So she's had the car now August, September, and October for
Yes,
3 months. So far, is that correct that you were using your daughter's car for 3 months?
August, September, and 2 weeks of October.
Okay.
So she told me there was a couple things wrong with the car. Since I wasn't working, I couldn't afford to pay for it. And the insurance was $152 in my name. So she told me that if I signed the title and we put it in both of our names, that she could get cheaper insurance. She would, pay for it and give it back to me since I couldn't work and I had my daughter.
Okay.
So I went ahead, I signed the back of the title, and her boyfriend George, he came to my house and picked up the title, and my boyfriend's mother had gone to bingo and met up with my mom, and that's when my mom had told her that I had sold her the car and that she wasn't giving it back.
Did she ever give you any money for the car?
No, ma'am.
Who paid for the insurance the 3 months that your mother had the car from August, September, and October?
My mom paid, but I had to pay for 1 month because I got a cancellation notice in the mail saying...
Which month?
I believe it was September.
Did she pay you back for September's?
No.
How many months of insurance did you pay for, Miss Steck?
Did I pay for it too?
Okay. Now I'll hear your story.
Okay. July 31st, my daughter went into labor. I was on my way to work when I got the phone call. A friend had picked me up to take me to work. She had called me and said she was in labor. My boyfriend had met me at the hospital where she was having the baby. I had asked if I could borrow the car so that I could come back and see her and the baby. I came back at 2 o'clock in the morning. I asked if I could borrow the car for a little while longer, and she said yes. So I took the car home. I let her know, I believe it was about 2.5, 3 weeks later, that I needed to keep the car a little longer.
And you had been driving the car?
Correct.
Keep going.
Okay. In September, I had noticed that Jacqueline's tags had expired on her car. I called Jackie and I said, well, Jackie, you are going to have to get this car re-inspected because it is past the 60 days to put tags on the car. I said, there's a couple of things that you're probably going to have to fix because it's been since April that she had the car inspected. And she says, well, I can't afford to keep the car on the road with the insurance. I can't afford to get the car re-inspected and get it fixed. And I said, well, Jackie, I still need a car. I said, I'll buy the car from you and give you the $400 that you paid for the car since you don't want it anyway. And she was like, that's fine. I got a phone call from her father. Her father, get along with, wants to know when I'm going to give her back the car.
Show me proof that you paid her for the car.
It was my daughter.
Show me proof that you paid her for the car.
I don't have any. So her father called me and said that, I need to give her her car back. I said she's welcome to come and get the car anytime that she wants. Then I would talk to Jackie. Jackie's like, no, I don't want the car.
Why didn't you just, listen, you're driving her car now for 3 months. If you had to go and rent a car, you couldn't have done that for less than $200 a month. That's clear. So why didn't you just say to your daughter, because I've been using your car for 2.5 months, and because it's not a new car, and if it needs things, could be because of the way I drove it, the mileage I put on the car, I'll have it fixed, I'll have it inspected, I'll take care of it for you, honey. Thanks for letting me use it for the last 3 months.
It wasn't 3 months, Your Honor. It was only for a month and a half.
No, wrong. August, that's when you took it. September, and according to you, 2 weeks into October. That's 3 months. Because when you lease a car, if you only use it for 2 weeks, you pay for the whole month, right? That's what a mother does. Mother doesn't say, oh, this is a real good opportunity for me to get myself a good car.
That's not what I did.
That's exactly what you did. Did you say to your daughter, listen, you did me a favor, I'll take care of getting the car inspected, tagged. Did you say that to her?
No,
That's what a mother does. That's what a mother does. Where's the car title?
The one in my name or the one in hers?
The one in your name. Bird, figure out where she signs that title back to her daughter.
Where it says seller.
Yeah, signature seller up here. Sign and print your name.
Give the title to the plaintiff, please, Bird. Go pick up your car, madam. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My daughter did not want the car. Her father had given her a lot of problems about letting me have the car.
I do want the car. I need the car. I have a daughter I have to support.
Her father was going to throw her out of the house if she did sell me the car.
My mother doesn't know what she's talking about. I filed papers before my father said that, any of that.
I couldn't believe that she was taking me to court.
My mom has a way of manipulating people.
I guess lying wins.
She's really never been there for me my whole life, and I've always wanted her to be there.
She's still my daughter.
I hope that I can look.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lawler versus Fletcher, step forward.
Brittany Lawler claims ex-boyfriend Nathan Fletcher broke their apartment lease. Nathan says Brittany kicked him out after he spanked her son.
Miss Lawler, according to your complaint, you and the defendant lived together, signed a 1-year lease in an apartment. You moved in, there were 3 of you. You, the defendant, and you have a child who's 6. You lived together and everything was pretty okay for a while, and then there was an incident involving your son. And the incident involving your son surrounded an eating tantrum that he had. And according to Mr. Fletcher, he threw a tantrum and Mr. Fletcher spanked him. After that, the 2 of you separated, never got back together again. Mr. Fletcher did pay the rent for a couple of months and then stopped. You want him to pay the last 3 or 4 months' rent because he signed the lease with you. Mr. Fletcher said really anticipated that you would be back together again, that you told him to leave, and that he's not going to pay any rent since you asked him to leave. And not only asked him to leave, you told him to leave. I believe in your answer, Mr. Fletcher, you say that her parents gave her an ultimatum. Either you left or they were taking her son.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what happened?
No.
Well, we'll find out. If they did say that, it probably would have been the right thing to do. Mr. Fletcher.
Yes, ma'am.
There are certain given facts in this case. You signed a joint lease, which obligated you to pay half the rent. You did not pay half the rent for how many months? 3?
I believe so, yes, ma'am.
Is that right? Yes. 3 months. But for the other 7 months you did. And what was your share of the rent?
$745 a month.
And yours was $745?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are you living now?
I'm still living there. The lease is not up yet, and I'm moving back in with my parents.
Who's paying the rent now?
I am.
From what?
I had to borrow money. I had to take out a personal loan with the bank in order to cover the rent.
Do you work?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Fletcher, tell me when you spanked her son.
It was evening of the 8th, Monday. Had cooked some dinner for him. Huh?
8th of what?
January. He was eating dinner, and all of a sudden he just started having a little tantrum, and I told him to stop, spitting food all over the carpet, told him to go to his room, wouldn't comply, so I spanked him.
Why don't you just pick him up and put him in his room?
Didn't think about it.
How old is he?
He was 5 at the time.
Where did you spank him?
On his bottom.
What'd you use?
Back of my hand.
How many times did you hit him?
I hit him once.
Once?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
I wasn't there. I'd have to take his word or my son's word. So.
Well, you don't have to take his word. What did your son say?
My son said that he had hit him very hard, so he was upset.
Is there any mark on him?
There was a little mark, yes.
You told your parents?
Yes.
And what happened?
When I saw it, I asked him, I said, you know what, you can't stay right now. This is not going to be a good situation. I don't know what's going to happen. I asked him to leave temporarily while he maybe did some parenting classes, maybe anger management or something to help cool things down and maybe fix the situation so that we could stay together.
So what do you want him to do?
I want him to fulfill his obligation and continue to pay the rest of the rent.
But he can't live there, Miss Lawler.
He can't live there because of his own behavior, because of his own actions.
I mean, I don't think if he hit, I'm not advocating Mr. Fletcher using corporal punishment on your child. Let's start with that. However, since you left him with your son in a position of parenting authority, there's a difference between corporal punishment and excessive corporal punishment. If Mr. Fletcher says he hit him once on the behind, and that's what he says, and you have no reason to dispute that, and if you told him to leave as a result of that, and he did not have the ability to stay in the apartment because of that, he shouldn't have to pay the rent.
He signed a lease, and because of his actions...
You move.
How am I going to move with my son when everything in that apartment was mine?
Listen to me, Miss Lawler. That's a choice that you have. Instead of telling him to leave, say, listen, we have the following choices. We're both on this lease. I can't afford the rent because I'm not working. I'm going to move back with my parents. You can stay in the apartment. Or, if I stay in the apartment, we have to do something with the lease. But you told him to leave.
It's temporary.
No.
Yes, it doesn't.
No, you gave him... No.
No.
My dear, temporary.
He left some of his stuff in the apartment, so he knew it was not permanent. I told him, you get some parenting classes, you do some counseling,
that has nothing to do with the lease?
Yes, it does. It has everything to do with
Miss Lawler has nothing to do with the lease, madam. He didn't sign a lease and sign on to take on parenting classes or anger management classes. That wasn't a condition of his lease.
He did sign a lease that he would fulfill his obligation to pay his rent for the entire year. It doesn't matter what happened. He has an obligation to finish paying the rent.
That's why you're here. He did, in fact, pay 2 months' rent when he wasn't...
He would continue to pay the rent because it was his obligation.
And I'm telling you that you told him to leave.
I asked him to leave temporarily until the situation calmed down. Am I supposed to put my son and me in some situation
when is your lease? When is your lease?
Comfortable?
Listen to me. When is your lease up?
My lease is up at the end of this month.
Well, you should have come to court earlier. I would have told you to go back to your parents earlier and told him to move back into the apartment.
What I have done? He can't pay the rent. We would have both still been on the lease, and we both still would be...
Miss Lawler, that's a what if. And what I'm telling you is the lease is up in 20 days. Instead of waiting 20 days, you should have sued him before. You should have gone in the first month that he said, I'm not paying you any more rent.
I couldn't, because I had to go back every month.
And then I would have said to you, Miss Lawler, go home to your parents now. Mr. Fletcher, you go back to the apartment and continue to pay the rent.
He couldn't have paid the rent by himself. Either way, if he had stayed or I had stayed, it doesn't matter. We would still be in the same situation.
Miss Lawler, right now, he paid rent for 2 months in an apartment where he was not living. When he was not living, you threw him. Don't you get it?
I did not throw him out. I asked him to temporarily leave. That's not...
When did you invite him back?
I wouldn't invite him back.
Just answer my question.
If you would let me.
When did you invite him? You said, I asked him to leave temporarily. When did you invite him back? On what date?
I told him he could come back when he took some counseling.
He doesn't have to do that,
Well,
madam.
then he doesn't have to continue the relationship with me. That was the circumstances. He knew that when he moved out, that he needed to get some help to continue the relationship so that he can move back in. It was not just the spanking of my son that started this. He has been unstable and yelling, screaming, accusing me of cheating. Every other week,
that's
he
a
would
whole other. Then you should have gone home to your parents early, and Miss Lawler, your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused when they step around.
I just got
kicked me out, took the key. Don't belong there, right? Don't need to pay. Easy as that.
He had an obligation to pay the rent. Because of his actions, I asked him to temporarily leave until he got help. He didn't get help, and I broke off the relationship. I shouldn't be in debt. I'm working, I'm taking care of my son, I'm going to school. I'm a good person, and I just made a mistake, and he just got a free walk.
I gave him punishment, being out of hand, didn't pay the rent.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is this the first time you've ever done that with a girlfriend?
Yes, we were engaged to be married.
Did you get the ring back?
No, she kept it.
Where's the ring?
She took it.
Where's the
I
ring?
have it with me, Your Honor.
Good. Can I have it, please? Very lovely. You don't want this engagement ring, do you? Perfect.
No, I don't.
And Mr. Fragano, you do want it back, I assume?
Yes.
Yeah, she doesn't want it. And you want it back. And you should have it back. Because we're going to resolve everything so the two of you can go your own separate ways.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay? Perfect. See how fair I am? See how fair I am?
I appreciate it very much.
That's it. Don't get used to it. There. Mr. Fragano.
Thank you, sir.
I'm a very orderly person. We're going to deal with one thing at a time.
Okay.
The first thing that you want is some money, because you claim that Miss Peterson sold some items of yours, I don't know, baseball cards, videos, whatever they were.
Video game collection.
On eBay.
Yes.
A system that I wholly do not understand. Nor do I want to understand it at my stage in life. Miss Peterson acknowledges that she sold these things for you on eBay because she knew how to do it, and she acknowledges she has some money that she's holding that belongs to you, right?
Right.
How much money are you holding from the sale of the items on eBay?
It's like $630.
Okay, so far you have $630 on your team and the engagement ring. Then you say that there is a computer.
Yes, an Alienware laptop.
Which Miss Peterson says she does not have, correct?
Correct.
And you've never had it in your possession?
No, I have not.
So you purchased a computer online?
Yes.
And tell me what happened, sir, why you think she's responsible for this computer.
I sold my video game collection laptop, also for extra money for her birthday on November 2nd. I purchased a laptop from the seller on eBay. I transferred $645 from my account into hers to pay for the item, and I have not received the item because of her. She waited out on the 23rd, I do believe, of October for the laptop. I went there with my father. I had my evidence, which I had already showed to the postmaster. He said there's nothing he can do. It has to go to the address. So I went to the mail lady. They looked at my evidence. They said just bring it right back to the post office. Do not even let her know that it's in the mail truck. She yelled at my father, don't touch my mail. She saw the laptop in the truck, tried to get it. Her girlfriend was there as well with the kids. I called the cops. I have a police report on that as well. The laptop went back. She tried to claim it. She does not have valid ID for Jennifer Fragano.
But it went back?
It went back to the seller, yes, and I did contact him, and he told me over the phone that I was a sick SOB.
Then you have to sue him, because he's got the laptop back. And your money.
He told me that he was sending it back to her.
But she doesn't have it, and I believe her. And you've never had it in your possession.
I have not.
Nor has anyone in your family.
No.
Okay, so he hasn't sent it back, and the seller has $645 of your money.
Yes.
Well, that's intolerable. So you have to sue him?
Can't contact him. I got him once. I sent him multiple emails. He never responded once. And I have proof of them corresponding. He made his sale private, and she made it private as well. So they're corresponding together, working together, and I know that I don't know for a fact that she has a laptop, but I do have tracking confirms up until the point where he received it.
But then you saw that she didn't get it.
Well, no, if he remailed it, it wouldn't be tracking confirmed no more. It would be under a
I guarantee he didn't remail it. You know how to reach him?
Yes.
Okay, because you have a counterclaim, so this is what we're going to do. All this is very unfortunate. Probably the seller who sold the computer. And when was that? In what month?
The sale of the laptop was on... Hold on. Wow, I had everything so organized. Now I'm on
October?
Oh, so it's recent.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to entertain your counterclaim. Everything that you may get a judgment for in your counterclaim is going to be stayed until you contact the owner of the computer and have the owner of the computer send the computer to you. What?
He said he'll ship it as long as somebody pays for the shipping again.
Okay.
So
I had already
he
agreed to
wants
do
to
that.
contact him.
So he's going to pay for the shipping again.
Okay.
But you're going to get the computer. You're going to get nothing on your counterclaim until he has the computer in his possession. Do
Okay.
you understand?
Yes.
Is that reasonable?
Yes.
Perfect. Is that satisfactory, sir?
Yes.
Good. Now, Ms. Peterson, we're going to your counterclaim. So now you have money and you have your computer. Other than doing what I've told her to do, she can't get the computer from this guy if he's not going to send it. But she's going to try very hard because she's going to tell me what she wants from you, some of which I think she's entitled to, and she's not going to get it until you have your computer. So she's going to work real hard to see to it that you get your computer. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, your counterclaim, Ms. Peterson says that the two of you did a ridiculous thing. You purchased this car. You used a car of yours as a trade-in.
Yes.
Down payment for a car that the two of you were using together.
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a Sebring convertible, which is mine. I have purchased her 3 cars, a Jeep Wrangler.
We're not talking about any 3 cars. We're talking about the car that was used.
Right, I purchased that. I have evidence that I purchased it.
No question. You purchased it. You're telling me that you used a car that was yours.
Yes.
For a down payment on that car.
Yes.
Which car did you use as a down payment?
1989 Pontiac Grand Am.
Was that car traded in, sir?
Yes, we both signed off on it.
We?
Was that car in both your names?
No, only in her name.
So it was her car. And that car was used as a down payment on the car that you currently have. And that was done in what month and year?
July of 07.
And the two of you separated in when?
October.
And how much did you receive as a credit for her car?
$500.
Is that right?
Yes.
And then when you separated, you took the car?
She took it at first to her parents' house and then took it to work. And I made a police report and then went and retrieved the car.
What year car is your Sebring?
The Monte Carlo is the one that I had bought for her. It's a 2001 Monte Carlo.
When you say you bought the 2001 Monte Carlo for her, was it a gift?
No.
What was it?
Well, she drove my Sebring into a flooded area, and her car was acting up, and I didn't want to put any more repairs into it. So I said, let's get a new car. And I will put you on there as well so that you can pay the insurance, and it would be registered to you. She never once made an insurance payment. Her insurance lapsed. I had to put it in my name, the insurance, and I paid everything.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Who did you return the car seats to?
I dropped them off by all of my belongings that were covered in used kitty litter.
You didn't return it.
I did.
You know, you didn't.
I dropped it there.
Sorry.
I left it there for her.
Don't buy it.
And later today,
He's a perfect angel in her eyes.
He doesn't look like an angel.
He's my angel.
Maybe your angel, but he doesn't look like an angel.
Paid for everything.
I understand that.
You know.
You don't get
They get away with it, and
listen.
it bothers me.
Hey, listen, Mr. Fragano, sometimes that stuff happens.
I understand that.
Usually happens where the girl is standing on that side and the guy is standing on this side. Every once in a while it happens the other way around. But she gets back the $500 as soon as you get the what?
The laptop.
The laptop, correct. Now, there's another part of your lawsuit, and that is when he came and took the car back from you.
Yes.
You had personal property in the car.
Yes.
I want you to tell me what personal property you had in the car.
It was some belongings of my children. It's a Barbie Magnadoodle. It's one of those little drawing boards for kids to play with.
Who cares? Go ahead. What else?
I have receipts for that. I have receipts for car seats that belong to my children.
Okay. You have 2 children seats in the car?
Yes, I returned everything on Sunday. Sunday
Which
evening
Sunday?
after they called the cops on me and her mother told the police outrageous accusations about
Just
me.
a second. Who did you return the car seats to?
I brought them to South Locust Avenue and I dropped them off by all of my belongings that were covered in used kitty litter and...
Shh. Did you bring them into the house?
I couldn't. I wasn't allowed on the property.
So what did you do? You just threw them on the property?
I placed them by the tree and I told Alba that they were there, the previous landlord.
All you had to do was bring them to the police station. Mr.
I was
Fragano.
escorted off the property
Mr.
by the
Fragano, don't play with me, sir. You don't throw it by a tree along with your property that was covered in kitty litter and then say, I returned it. You didn't return it.
I did.
You know, you didn't.
I dropped it there.
Sorry.
I left it there for her.
Sorry. Don't buy it.
And it was only 2 car seats, 1 medical bill from Stony Brook, and a couple of toys that they used my Target card to purchase as well.
I don't care whether they used your Target card to purchase it at all. The most important thing were the car seats, and you have to replace those because you didn't return them. If you took them to the police precinct and said, listen, I'm dropping them off at the police precinct, you can go and pick them up there, that's one thing. What you did was vicious. You don't get credit for that. So you're going to pay $100 for each of the car seats.
They were only $30 each.
Really? How do you know that?
Because I purchased the one, and the other one was the exact same one as the one I purchased. And it was
You
$30
have
from
bills
Target.
for the car seats?
Not with me, Your Honor. I can't find them. They were
in my Target.
within a year and a half.
My Target card.
I've had the car seats.
How old are your children?
3 and 4.
And I've been dad for the past 2 years.
Okay.
The last day of them screaming, I want my daddy.
You get $50 each for the car seats. Go out and buy new car seats for your children if they still need them. So
Her
far,
girlfriend already
so far,
purchased
I'm
me ones.
speaking.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Because that'll cover the toys that were in there as well. So that means that he owes you $600, which I'm holding until he gets his laptop. Do you understand?
Yes.
Now you have your ring back. You have your money back. You're going to get your PC back. You have your down payment back, and you have the value of the property that was in the car when he took it back. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, now you don't like each other anymore? You don't have children together? There is absolutely no reason for you to be involved with each other? Right?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Go by,
I
have a happy
appreciate it.
life, go separately, and stay separate.
You don't want to hear none of the drama?
No, I don't want to hear any drama. I don't like drama. I make my own drama.
I understand, Your Honor.
Excuse me, step out.
I took care of her kids for 2 years.
I have 2 small children. Yes, he's not the father of them, and he took on that role.
He's bad news.
Her mom making allegations
He assaulted me back in December.
that I was sexually abusing the kids, physically abusing the kids, abusing her physically.
He assaulted my granddaughter.
Spanking, is child abuse, and he spanked my youngest. She's 3.
It's outrageous.
She had a handprint on her butt for 3 weeks.
I don't like him.
Her ex was living at her parents' house for the past year.
He has no relationship with Jenny. He has a girlfriend.
She went there for a whole week. I didn't know he was there.
They have not been together since the youngest child.
2 different lives.
Stay away from freaks like...
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Judges number 277 on the calendar in the matter of Wisnen versus Concepcion. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Mr. Wisnad, you are a bail bondsman.
Yes, ma'am.
This lady came to you because her husband, I suppose that's you,
Yes.
correct, was arrested.
Maria is my sub-agent who actually wrote the bond.
You came to her.
Well, I called her.
Because your husband was in jail. What was he arrested for?
For possession of stolen property.
Possession of stolen property is what he was arrested for. He was being held on how much bail?
$25,000.
$25,000.
There's one other charge there, Your Honor. It was PC 273.5, which is domestic violence.
So possession of stolen property and beating up his wife.
Actually, I believe it was his sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law. Because that's heavy bail. $25,000. Anyway, you charged 10%.
That is correct.
And you agreed to post the bail for him.
Yes, ma'am.
So he could get out of jail, right?
Right.
That was a nice thing for them to do.
It's her job.
Your fee, that's his job. For which he gets what?
For which he gets 10%.
Paid.
Right. Is paid.
And at the time your wife came in, all she had was $1,300. But they agreed to go ahead and post the bail anyway.
Right.
Correct. And there was an agreement. And what was the agreement about the rest of the bail, sir?
It was a signed promissory note to have the remaining balance of $1,300 paid in full by May 2nd.
And how many days after that?
That was actually 4 days after the bond was posted, and that was a date that was agreed upon by Maria, the agent writing the bail, and Eleanor.
May I see it, please? So, Miss Concepcion, you signed this promissory note to come in 4 days later and post the rest of the bail. Right?
Right.
Did you?
I tried. That I didn't. No.
You didn't?
No.
And you, sir, got out of jail.
Yes.
Did you go in and post the money?
No, I didn't. I told her, directly, I told her, I said, there's no possible way that I'm going to be able to have that money for you. Now, is there a way that we can make arrangements for the balance? Payments such as, $200 a month.
Just a second. These aren't your relatives. They're in business.
But Your Honor, she told me that if I had any problems making the payments, she could make arrangements.
Correct. But when I had also spoken to her and we did the promissory note, I told her to tell me the date that she can come up with this money. So I gave her an option to either pay it off in full or do payments. And she told me that she could come up with the money by May 2nd, which was a couple days later.
Okay. Now listen. The most important thing for you was to get your husband out of jail.
Yeah.
You signed this piece of paper that promised that you would make the payment to the bail bondsman, who stands to lose all the money, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Not just this little bit of money, but $25,000.
That is correct.
Because you are ensuring that he's going to show up and do the right thing.
Yes, ma'am.
That's his business. Okay. So you got what you needed momentarily, which was to get out of jail. You promised whatever you had to promise, and then you didn't pay it. How many times have you been arrested? Can't try to count on one hand.
No.
How many
I haven't been
times?
arrested that many times.
So you know the drill?
Not really.
Are you sure you do? How old are you?
37.
You've been arrested more than 3 times, sir? Make sure you tell me the truth.
Actually about 3 times.
Yeah, the money issue was actually secondary on...
I know.
Okay.
Because your lawsuit says that he didn't show up.
To sign the paperwork, that is correct.
To sign the paperwork, and he was supposed to.
There's also
That's
another.
this other form.
Can I see that, please?
His wife signed.
Now, you signed this paper agreeing that you would produce your husband in their office within 48 hours of his release to sign the remainder of the paperwork. Right?
Right. But she told me, because I didn't have the money, she told me not to go in.
Did you ever tell her not to come in?
No.
Baloney! Baloney! She never told you not to bring him in to sign the rest of the paperwork? Paperwork is what he has to have.
When I spoke to her, why wouldn't she tell me this? She told me
Just a second, sir. Were you told by your wife that you had to go in within 2 days to sign some paperwork?
No.
Baloney. Baloney. You
I
know,
don't think
there's a
so.
certain common sense, sir. You've been in jail before, you've been arrested before, you've had bond posted before. You know the drill.
She told me about taking a picture, yes, okay.
Right.
But like I said, I
Just a
spoke
second.
to this woman
Yeah.
personally.
Your wife told you that you had to go in and sign some paperwork and have your picture taken. So the answer is yes. Right?
Picture taken, yes.
Did you go?
Did we don't know?
No, because we didn't have the money.
This says when you're released within 48 hours, you have to come to his office. Is that what it says?
Correct.
It is in English. Clear as a bell. So don't tell me about going to court the next
I understand that, but she told us not to come in because
There was
we
a lot
making
of
a trip
things
for
said
nothing.
verbally.
I would call her and she would tell me she would come in the next day. There was no one, she never ever came in. I kept calling, telling me that her check or whatever, for whatever which reasons, she didn't have the money. And I told her, okay, if you don't have the money, come in and we can make payment
You
arrangements.
told me
but
you were
he
gonna
needs
arrest
to
me.
Come in.
Hey,
if the paper on the agreement said, on that agreement that we just handed to you, said if he didn't come in within 48 hours, then we could arrest him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He's trying to put his finger in my eye. Instinct, I bite on that finger.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bail bondsman Gene Wisenant says Frank Concepcion owes him bail money. When Gene went to collect, Frank says there was an altercation over a gun.
tell me what happened when you went to arrest him.
Here we go.
There were 2 times. The first night was on a Wednesday, the 14th, I believe. I went to the mother-in-law's house, which was listed as his residential address. I went there, I saw Eleanor, and I saw his mother-in-law, and a number of other people there. I went through the house, he wasn't there. Gave Eleanor and her mother my business cards with instructions to have Frank call me when he came back in.
You're a liar, man.
Shh. Hey, I want you to be quiet, sir. Don't talk to him. You're going to have a chance to speak. How much after you posted the bail for him. Did you go to effectuate the arrest?
About 2.5 weeks, almost 3 weeks.
Okay. And in that 2.5 to 3 weeks' time, had he come in to make any payment whatsoever?
No, ma'am. As a matter of
Had
fact,
his wife come in to make any payment whatsoever?
no, ma'am.
Okay. So you went to arrest him. And tell me what happened when you got there.
Got to the house. We were watching the house. Maria was the driver. I was going to effect the arrest. I had Maria move the car. I was standing in the shadow next to the side of the house when Maria pulled to the light to square the block and come back on a different location. Frank's, as I find out later, it was Frank's younger brother comes out, sees her pull away, yells something out. Frank goes running across the street, out to the front door, across the street to his parked car. That is correct. I yelled out his name. I yelled his name again and ordered him to stop. He turned around, looked over his shoulder at me, ran back towards the house. I stopped him in the driveway, side of the house on the side driveway. We rolled to the ground. As we were rolling, I felt his hand go for my gun. I clamped his hand. At that point, I basically gave up on the encounter. My whole goal, my whole purpose in life at that point was to hold the gun in the holster, not allow the gun to get out. I had his left hand clamped to my gun and my gun pressed down in the holster. He was able to straddle my body, get his right hand around my throat.
Tell the truth now.
I'm going to throw you out of the courtroom. Take your hands out of your pockets and be quiet. You're going to have your opportunity, sir, to tell me your version of the story. How many times do I have to tell you that?
Okay, continue.
He's got his hand on my throat and his other hand on my gun. I put my hand up to his head. I can still feel the ridge of his eye socket under my thumb, with the intention of rolling my thumb in. I rolled my hand down across his face to rock his head back and force him off of me. When my hand came down across his face, he clamped down on my left index finger. Still have a scar on each side. He clamped down. I felt his jaw rake across it. His brother then got up to my right side. I felt his brother pry at my hand on the gun, and either I hit him with my elbow or I kneed him with my knee.
Must be his auntie.
My hand got free at that point.
Do me a favor. Would you stand behind him? Because I want to get this case over with, so I don't want to throw him out of the courtroom. But maybe your presence is there, Officer Byrd, will remind him to keep his mouth shut until it's his turn.
I don't think so.
Go ahead.
When he yelled out, I was able to get my hand free. I pried his hand off my throat. At that point, I guess he felt he was losing control. He tried to stand up. Because I was holding both of his hands, he pulled me up as well. His brother put up both his hands on my chest and pushed me back to the ground, struck me, trying to hit my groin missing. Frank got up, took 2 or 3 steps. I either pushed or punched his brother again to get him off of me. Frank took a step back and yelled, "Don't hit my brother." I was able to get up. Frank ran to his car across the street. Maria was parked in the middle of the street on the phone with the local police department. She witnessed the whole thing. Frank got away that night, and then I went straight from there. Police officer responded about 10 or 15 minutes later, took a report, and I went directly to the emergency room to get medical care for my finger.
So the remainder of your lawsuit is for the bite?
The bite, yes, ma'am.
Okay, now it's your turn.
Okay, first of all, we talked on the phone, and this is after 2 weeks. We spoke on the phone. I have not yet even spoke to this man. I spoke to her, and her and my wife were talking. We agreed to come down to their office at that evening. The call was about 4 o'clock. We agreed to be there about 8 o'clock. I left the house. I told my wife, I said, we'll go down there, meet me down there at 8 o'clock. I have to go to my father's and run some errands, okay, for my father. Okay, this was at my father's place. Okay, he came, I went outside. I was leaving after I ran the errands for my father, okay. This was nighttime already, it was dark. I go to my car, it was parked across the street, okay. As I'm going across the street, it's dark too, there's not many lights out there. Now, he's hiding behind a bush, okay? All of a sudden, I'm walking across the street, I'm in the middle of the street, and somebody says, "Hold it. You move it, I'll shoot." He got his .357 out, pointing right at me, okay? And I look at him, I don't know who he is. He never identified himself at all, okay? I don't know who the heck, he could be trying to rob me, you know? I take off. As I'm running back towards my place, okay, the garage, I turn around, because he's right behind me, I turn around and smack him one. Okay, then I pick him up and I throw him, body slam him on my garage. Okay, at this point, he's going for his gun again. Now, when he goes for his gun, I put my elbow up in his throat, okay, and I'm grabbing for the gun, because I'm going to take it from him before he shoots me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're wrong about that.
I'm wrong. I was wrong once in
Your Honor,
1947.
You're wrong again in 1998.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bail bondsman Gene Wisenant says Frank Concepcion tried to jump bail. When he tried to collect, an altercation ensued.
Just tell me your version of what happened that day.
This man's going for his gun like it was a thing to do, like he's some super cop or something. You ain't about nothing though. But I'm gonna tell you, okay, as I'm going for his gun. I'm going for his gun. All right. And this time he's got, like he said, he's trying to put his finger in my eyes. Instinct, I bite on that finger. All right. Then I pull the gun out from his holster and toss it in the bush. Now, I don't want some accident to happen because this guy's acting like a fool out. Would just pull out his gun, you know, like he thinks he can do this. I haven't jumped bail. I haven't missed my court date. I haven't even had my court date yet. And he's coming at me with a gun?
Okay. Now, I have a couple of questions for you, sir. You were running errands for your father, and you were supposed to be at his office. Shut! Just pay attention to me.
Okay.
You were supposed to be at his office at 8 o'clock. That was the plan. That's what you told me, correct?
Right, correct.
Did you go to his office at 8 o'clock? The answer is either yes or no.
No.
Right. Because when he came to your house, it was after 8 o'clock, correct?
No, it was before 8 o'clock.
What time?
Before.
What time?
7:30, 20 till.
But he had came
Just
to the
a
house
second.
before
Just
me.
a second. Hey.
I was there.
Just answer my... Listen
was
to me.
there.
Listen to me. Truth of the matter is the two of you had absolutely no intention of going to his office
Yes,
at
I
8 o'clock.
did. I was going.
Yeah,
It only takes 15 minutes to get there.
Oh, baloney.
They had no intentions of meeting us at their office.
It was all set up.
Listen to me. It may have been a setup, but you had no intention of going there, paying the money, and having your picture taken, and filling out the rest of the
paying
paper.
money. It wasn't about paying money.
It's
It
about
was
making
about
a
signing
check.
a contract to pay $200 a month.
Right.
All right.
For the rebalance.
Okay,
of
let's go. Let's finish up that. And then we can get to the next thing that's troubling me about your version of this story, sir. When you first started to tell me the story, you told me he was hiding in the bushes, which means that you saw him hiding in the bushes.
No.
And, well, then how did you know he was hiding in the bushes?
Because I crossed the street and he said, "Hold it, move and I'll shoot." That's when I looked and he
okay.
was hiding in the bushes.
I see. So you saw him hiding in the bushes. What did you say no for? You saw him hiding in the bushes, right?
Okay.
Then you just went through a whole story about where does he come off taking out his gun. It's only a bail, and I hadn't missed my court date. Isn't that what you just told me?
That's correct.
Right. Just a minute. But then at the beginning of the story that you were telling me you thought he was a robber. There to rob you. How could he be a robber and a bail bondsman at the same time?
He never identified himself. I told you. You're not listening to me.
No, I'm listening to you, sir.
No, I told you he did not identify himself. He never had.
You said to me, where does he come off pulling a gun, a .357 Magnum on me, as a bail bondsman?
I'm speaking after the fact already, okay?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen, I've heard both stories. A, you owe him the money for the bail, because that's what you promised, madam, to pay him. That's the written... Stand closer to him.
Stand as close as you want, brother.
That's what you promised. That's what you agreed. You agreed to come in and pay $1,200. Right?
Right.
So that's what you owe him. And what I am finding, based upon common sense is that he got out of jail and he said, let him come find me.
No,
That-
you're wrong.
Sure.
You're wrong
Didn't
about
come
that.
I'm wrong. I was wrong once in
Your Honor,
1947.
You're wrong
But
again
since
in
1947, I didn't. You are suing, sir, for assault. It's
Yes,
clear
sir.
to me from his own version of what happened that he knew exactly who you are when you stopped him, that he was avoiding you, that the family was avoiding you, and that you were effectuating a lawful arrest in order to secure your bail, because it was now 2.5 to 3 weeks, and the person for whom you had posted bail failed to come in to complete the necessary paperwork and failed to keep that part of the agreement that provided for the remainder of the 10% of the bail. So you had an absolute right to go in and effectuate an arrest under the laws in this jurisdiction, and you were assaulted. And I believe that he knew who you were, that what he should have done was stop immediately. He did not do that. Based upon his own statement.
Do you believe he identified himself?
I'm not here to answer your questions. You answer my questions. Based upon his own statement, he turned around and struck you before you struck him. He said that, not you. He says he turned around and assaulted you. So I'm granting you your judgment for $3,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
You come at me.
Yeah, I keep smiling like that.
You keep smiling, okay?
Because you know it's wrong what you did,
I'll
okay?
drop you again.
You know it's wrong. Especially in front of the kids. You did that stuff.
You pull out a gun in front of my kids. Sucker, I'll beat you, all right? Don't. You're lucky I let you go, okay? You're lucky. You're lucky I didn't pistol whip you with your own gun.
Joseph Jefferson owes her money he borrowed to buy car rims.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, it's case number 335 on the calendar in the matter of Stanoff versus Jefferson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen.
This was your boyfriend. How long had you known each other?
About 2.5 years, almost 3 now.
And you're not together anymore.
Correct.
While you were together, he used your credit card to buy rims for his car.
Correct.
And you say, sir, that it was a gift of love.
Yep. Yes.
So, Miss Stanoff, why don't you tell me about this rimming?
We were together about 2.5 years, and we ended up breaking up for about 6 to 9 months. We moved in together as roommates. He needed to purchase some rims. He then put $500 down, wrote a check to West Coast Motorsports in Garden Grove, and then proceeded to tell me that that he needed to have the other $1,300 to pay on the rims, or else he was going to lose his $500. So I went down with him. In return, he said that he would pay me back in full. He had gave me a Vaughn's credit card, or I'm sorry, credit union card. Told me that actually there was $30 taken out of his check every week that I could take out to pay the bill back.
So you broke up, he's got the rims and you got the bill. Is that what you're telling me?
Correct.
Go.
Okay, well, we broke up. We moved back in together. We were living there for about a week, and she usually takes me out shopping, buying me stuff whenever I want when we get in fights or something. And she offered to buy me some rims for my car. She
Why
paid for
would
them.
she take you out shopping if you have a fight?
That's how she is. Whenever I got mad at her, we got in a fight, she bought me stuff. And she has a record of always, every time we break up, trying to take something back from me. And that's why, like, when we got back together that time, for like 3 years, she made me sign a contract saying that, it was a contract, it was made in 5/30/95, saying that anything, the first thing on there says, whatever you bought me is mine if we break up no matter what. And she signed it and dated it, everything. So that's how she always goes to that stuff. Buys me stuff and then wants to take it back when we break up. When we went to buy the rims, I wrote the check for $500 and she paid the rest with the credit cards. There was no agreement. He was there with me when we bought it. It was us 3 there. We went there. There's no agreement that I had to pay back, nothing. The reason she got my cash card is
Just a second. Who has the car?
The card?
Car!
No, I sold it.
With the rims?
Yes.
How much after she paid for the rims did you sell the car?
I sold it for $18,500.
Well, I didn't ask you that question, but that's an interesting answer.
How much longer?
What?
How much longer? Just
What word in English didn't you understand?
You said how much the car 3 months ago.
How much after you put the rims on the car did you sell it was my question. You said $18,000, which isn't exactly an answer, but I'll take it.
2 months.
Had you already broken up with her at the time?
Yeah.
So why didn't you give her back the money for the rims from the car?
Because they were a gift. That's like
what?
They were a gift. That's like I bought her rings and stuff. Am I supposed to take everything back that I bought her?
Let me explain something
That's not
to you,
right.
sir. There's a difference between a ring, a piece of jewelry, a watch, a shirt, a tie, a pair of rollerblades. There's a difference between that and 4 rims for your car.
There's no difference. It's material.
How old are you?
20.
Where do you live?
In Hawaiian Gardens.
Who do you live with?
My grandma.
Your grandmother?
Yes.
Where do your parents live?
Just, I don't know. I don't talk to my parents.
You don't know, you don't talk to them?
Yes.
For how long?
For a while. All my life.
What do you mean all your life?
All my life. Like
You mean
said.
you've always lived with your grandmother?
Yes.
Is it your mother's mother or your father's mother?
Mom's.
Does she talk to her daughter?
Yes.
You ever been arrested, Mr. Jefferson?
Nah. Nope.
Where do you work?
I don't work now.
Why?
Because I quit. Because I lost my license.
What license?
Driver's license.
Why?
For speeding.
How many times?
3.
And you were never arrested, sir?
Nah, I never arrested, no.
No. And what kind of car was this that you sold for $18,000?
97 Mitsubishi Eclipse.
How'd you buy it?
Financed it.
What kind of work were you doing when you financed it?
I worked for UPS in Vons.
And what happened to those jobs?
I had to lose them because of her.
You lost your UPS job because of her? How did she cause you to lose your UPS job?
See, that's how it started. When she broke into my box and she stole my car keys my checkbooks, all this stuff, and she stole my car from UPS one night because I worked midnight shift. I go in 3 to 9, and I came out, my car wasn't there, and then I came back and it was moved somewhere else. She stole my cars, and I couldn't keep letting my car go out. She always threatened me, saying that all my friends they're gonna steal your car, take the rims off, steal your radio. And then Vons, she went in there harassing me all the time. My boss complained to
So
me.
she wanted the money back for the rims or the
No,
rims
she
right
didn't want
from the
the money.
beginning?
Nah, it's not for the money. It's for the love. She missed me. She wanted me still.
Oh, my God. God help her if that's what she wanted. How old are you?
19.
Who do you live with?
My grandmother.
Where are your parents?
My parents are in Norco. I talk to them once a week.
Where?
Norco, North Corona.
And why don't you live at home?
Because it's too far for me to commute now.
Have you ever met his parents?
I've met his mother.
When?
I've met her a few times during the 2.5 years that we were together. I've seen her probably about a year ago. I saw her.
When you saw them, was he there?
Yeah. He's the one that introduced me to her.
Does that sound familiar to you, sir?
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
So it's not that you haven't spoken to your parents or your mother?
I don't talk to them.
Oh, God.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You are a 20-year-old unemployed person who takes from young women because he thinks that he's God's gift. I mean, you're not even good looking.
And later today,
We said to them, we're missing a day of work. They know the money that we do make when we work.
Well, if you're topless entertainers and do stand-up comedy, then you know about contracts.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rachel Stanhoff says her ex-boyfriend Joseph Jefferson owes her money he borrowed to buy car rims. Joseph claims the money was a gift.
Listen up, Mr. Jefferson. You owe her for the tire rims. You're 20 years old. You could either be in your life. First of all, you got this dumb look on your face, which is really irritating. The smile, which really is irritating, because it looks to me as if you're trying to get over, and you think you're going to get over me. I'm smarter than you will be if you live to be 170 years old. Right? Do you understand that? Because you are either so thick or so impervious to what's right because you had no moral upbringing that I really feel sorry for you. And maybe that accounts for this ridiculous look on your face. But what I'm telling you is, You could either be a nice person or you could be a taker and a sucker all your life, sucking off other people. And it sounds to me as if you started your young life being a sucker off other people, taking advantage of other people and thinking that you have some gift, some special gift. I tell you right now, I got 3 sons, right? And I'm looking at you and I'm saying, you are no gift to anybody.
You gave it.
You are no gift. You are a 20-year-old unemployed person who takes from young women because he thinks that he's God's gift. I mean, you're not even good looking. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,255. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
And now the next case.
Parties on Kaufman, Smith versus Rodriguez. Step forward, please.
Bikini models Jennifer Kaufman and Kim Smith are suing magazine publisher David Rodriguez because he used their photos in his magazine but never paid them.
You two ladies posed for some photographs that were in the defendant's magazine. You claim that he promised to pay you. He didn't. Is that what this case is about?
Yes. It is.
Well, who's going to speak first?
I would like to.
What's your name?
Jennifer Kaufman.
Okay.
We met Dave through some mutual friends, and we met at a local restaurant. And we had discussed, he said he was going to do some catalog work and a lot of different stuff, and we were excited for him, and we had discussed doing some pictures for him. And so...
He wanted to set up a photo shoot for the bathing suit company.
For the bathing suit company.
Yeah.
And we went, he set up the photo shoot. Well, we didn't make the first one. And during that, at the restaurant, he said, well, at the sign of release, if we like your pictures, and we'll go from there.
The photographer then called us and insisted that we come on Father's Day and do this. And they said if they decide to publish our pictures, then we will then sit down and talk about a contract and be compensated for our work. Then some girls came up to us and said, yeah, we saw your picture in the San Antonio Sports Magazine. We were like, what? And we never signed anything. May I also add there's pictures floating around the internet.
So what you're telling me is you didn't have a contract with him?
We were supposed to, if the pictures were to be published,
the pictures, they didn't,
then we would sit down and talk about them.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do for a living? What do you do for a living?
We're entertainers.
And
what
I do
kind of
stand-up
entertainers?
comedy. We're both topless entertainers, and I do stand-up comedy.
Well, if you're topless entertainers and do stand-up comedy, then you know about contracts. So you're going to do these pictures, right, for some sort of compensation if the pictures were published. But you hadn't discussed the compensation with him.
If they decided to use our pictures, then that's what we were to discuss.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
Did you ever hear speak when spoken to? Sit down. I'm not ready for witnesses yet.
Okay.
Good. So you hadn't had an amount of money that you agreed on, even if they used your pictures.
Well, we said to them, we're missing a day of work. They know the money that we do make when we work, and it's a very hard lesson. We did learn a lesson from this.
Good. So what are you here for?
To be compensated.
Be compensated for the work that was done.
And
well, how much do you think? How much do you think you should be compensated?
$750 for each job.
And how many jobs did you do?
2.
You each did 2?
The first job we did was for a clothesline. It was runway modeling for the other photographer.
Well, don't tell me about the other photographer. You're talking about this. You're talking about this swimsuit issue, right?
Right. Yes.
So you think you should be compensated $750 a piece? That's $1,500, right? What about $500 a piece for the day? No, I'm just asking. What about $500?
May I say I have no animosity toward Dave. It has nothing to do with. It's just it's about work. It's about the job that we done. We're not compensated for. We trusted in his word, and that's what was understood.
Well, you know, if that was the case, if she had no animosity toward me, she called my advertisers trying to say that I was a liar. I mean, I go on my word.
Never said that.
I don't have any proof to show you, but my clients call me and say, you know, we have 2 girls calling trying to get our insurance company to pay them money. And this is one of my clients, I can't say who they are, and they said, why were they calling me? I have nothing to do with your
Mr. Rodriguez,
yes.
You took pictures of them, correct?
I didn't. A
photographer did. For your magazine?
Yes.
And you make money from this magazine from selling advertising space,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
Yes.
So it would seem to me that if you sold advertising space, and this is that way you make your living, then you compensate the people who work for you. So you use their pictures.
Yes.
And how did you compensate them?
Okay, this is the deal.
No.
Okay.
No. Not here's the deal.
Okay.
You use their pictures in a product that you made from which you make a living from selling advertising.
Yes.
And my question to you is, how did you compensate them?
I told them they would get trade, that they would get a swimsuit. The company said they would provide each girl a swimsuit.
Why would we want...
Just put your hand down.
For their services, for posting in the magazine.
Are you kidding me or what?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And I'm not going to hire 2 strippers. I'm going to go after a modeling agency. That's what I would do if I'm going to pay anybody
First
to
of all,
model
a
on a
stripper's
magazine.
not what you do, it's who you are.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Bikini models Jennifer Kaufman and Kim Smith say magazine publisher David Rodriguez published their photos without paying them. David claims they agreed to let him use the photos for free.
Did you give him the swimsuit?
Well,
not well.
Yes, one of them has a swimsuit.
The one that they were wearing
One
that
of them,
day?
yes.
The one that they were wearing that day?
Yes.
Well, you know, you can't go out and sell those things again. I mean, you can't go out and sell them once you use it.
Exactly.
You know, once you use it,
Yes,
you bought it.
exactly.
So you're telling me, Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
you expect me to believe, sir, that you got all the free talent to make your magazine, and in exchange for that, they were supposed to get a bathing suit?
Yes.
I don't usually ask these questions because it's not a good idea. Lawyers should never do that. Why would you think that they would do that?
This is the reason why.
I'm waiting.
Every year, I have an annual swimsuit issue. I get tons of photographs from women who want to be in the swimsuit issue. It's one of my biggest issues of the year. I don't pay one model to be in my swimsuit issue, not one. Out of all the models that I used, I have 13 models. I have these 2 girls saying they want to get paid. 2 girls out of 13 models. Does that make any sense there?
Can I see the magazine, please?
Well, we don't know what they discussed with them, but what we discussed with him is totally different.
Well, I have
No,
witnesses.
let me tell you something. You didn't really discuss anything with him, because when you discuss something with him, then you make a price. I could just as easily say to you, listen, ladies, you didn't discuss with him what the price was for your work that day, which is what you're supposed to do. So I believe that you should be compensated. Looks to me like you had a pretty good time. $50 seems like a nice amount of money. I mean, I could say that to you. You're supposed to be smarter. I mean, if this is your business, if you're in the entertainment business, you're supposed to use your noodles.
But the fact of the matter is, too, that they contacted me. Here's the deal here. She called me wanting to be in my swimsuit issue. So I said I would meet with them. I met with them right on the table. Think of it. I have all these models. I mean, I have real models. I mean, I could have, if I was going to pay anybody, I'm going to hire a modeling agency. I'm not going to get...
Do real models not get paid?
Well, let me ask you
And I'm
this.
not going to hire 2 strippers. I'm going to go after a modeling agency. That's what I would do if I'm going to pay anybody
First
to
of all,
model on a
stripper's
magazine.
not what you do, it's who you are.
Okay, well...
Let me ask you this question, sir. They took a lot of photographs of these
Yes.
young ladies, right? Where are the photographs that they took of these young ladies?
The photographer has them. They are his
Floating
pictures.
around the internet.
Some of them you have.
Yes.
Because you clearly went through some of them.
Sure,
and-
to edit it and go through it and decide
Ah.
which ones were the best, yes.
Well, let us assume for the moment that there was some sort of a misunderstanding. And in addition to being compensated by getting a swimsuit, and quite frankly, ladies, I can understand why ladies who are in the entertainment field would like to have the kind of exposure that this magazine, I mean, it looks like a perfectly nice magazine. It's got a picture of nice young ladies in bathing suits and very athletic-looking young men. I mean, there's nothing untoward about these pictures. Why you might want to have your picture in this kind of magazine, right? I assume you like that idea.
Yeah, would you like
Right?
it?
I assume you like that idea.
Sure.
Okay. And the money wasn't really that important to you, because if it was that important to you and if it was your business, you would have made a price with him and you would have entered into a written contract with him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't take much stock in the fact that there was some sort of a breach of contract. But Mr. Rodriguez,
Well, can I say something? Okay.
I'm not going to take any longer with this case than it's worth. It's not worth a lot, sir. I've already told them that they're not getting $3,000, they're not getting $1,500 because you didn't have a contract price, and I don't intend to make a contract now when there was none before.
But do I get anything for the models that now, since they ruined it with the swimsuit issue, they do not want to give the models that I owe swimsuits to? Now I have to, what do I do now? What do I do now?
Listen, what am I, your mother? What am I, your mother? You got a countersuit here? You have a countersuit here?
Well, I didn't, there was not time.
That time, shoulda, woulda, coulda. You know, you're a businessman. I'm not your mother. I don't intend to solve all your problems, sir, and stop chewing gum in my courtroom. Listen to me. Listen to me.
Yes.
You have some pictures of them that I think that they would probably like to have.
Yes.
Wouldn't you like to have the photographs?
Yes, please.
That would be very nice. At least they could put that in their portfolio, right?
Well, since they're the photographer's pictures,
I'm talking about the ones,
the ones
you
I have. Yes, yes. Gladly, I'd give them to him.
Perfect. By tomorrow. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
We did work and we wanted to be compensated for the work. I mean, of course we're not going to ask, I mean, bathing suits, who would want bathing suits that worn from someone given back? I don't
That should be just normal feminine hygiene.
That's
That
just
should be a
gross,
given that we would
actually.
get the suits. And I didn't.
And he made her give the one that she had on.
Yes, I gave mine back. I don't know what they plan on doing with
who was
that.
wearing those.
That's what happens when you know you're wrong. You walk away.
That's why the
when you
photographer didn't even show
When
up.
you know you're wrong. Well, I'm here. You're suing me. Why didn't you see the photographer? Why didn't you see the photographer? Well, then why am I here? I'm from Texas. We sort of have this thing. A handshake means a lot. Our word means a lot. Obviously, they're not from Texas, so they don't know what it means.
Rise. Your Honor, this is case number 377 on the calendar in the matter of Swarthout versus Lee. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
The two of you were involved, according to these papers, in the making of a movie, a short movie. You were a student, sir?
Yes, that's correct.
Got together some money, a budget of about $50,000, and you hired the...
About $63,000, Your Honor. Yeah.
63, it's even better. You hired the defendant.
No, I didn't hire her.
How did you come together with the defendant who also worked on this movie?
I'd known Miss Lee for a number of years when she lived out in Malibu. She had been a number of short-term jobs in the show business industry, and I knew that she had produced a short film prior to this. She had some experience doing it. So I asked her if she would volunteer to work with me, and she was quite enthusiastic about
But you
making
also
another
paid her.
film. No, I did not pay her.
There was some sort of payment involved.
No, none. This is a student film, Your Honor. Everybody, the key people are working for free on this for the experience and for the credit.
What do you do with the $63,000 that you gathered?
This goes for 35mm film, to rent Panavision cameras, to rent very expensive equipment. Right.
And none of the actors who were in the film were paid either?
None of the actors were paid.
Okay. According to your complaint, she was co-signatory on the bank account that was set up to deal with this $63,000, and also did some of the purchasing, et cetera, for the project, and that she took without permission money from that account and also failed to repay certain loans that you authorized. Is that right?
That's correct.
Well, tell me about it.
We went through the class together, jumped all the hurdles, started making the film. We were chosen along with 4 other teams at UCLA to make the movie. She volunteered her apartment, the front living room of her apartment, to use as production headquarters. When the thing was getting going and underway, we got involved in the casting. She was helpful on that, working full-time. She had quit her job, her full-time job, after a pay dispute with her last boss. We got involved in the making of the film. I'm suing her on 6 different counts today for this equipment that was missing. I had to buy her a fax machine. She did not have one. I set up a fax line for her, a producer's manual, as well as a little accounting machine that she wanted. Miss Lee then sort of went Hollywood on us, unfortunately. She started taking herself to women in film luncheons. She took the other producer. She went to a full-day women in film seminar for $175 for networking purposes that had nothing to do with our motion picture. She went out to the Shambhala Wild Animal Preserve and bought $80 worth of personal souvenirs from our star, Tippi Hedren, a book about Shambhala and a film that Tippy had made, had personal souvenirs, had nothing to do with this motion picture. As we were moving closer to production, she asked me to borrow the first month's rent, or February rent. I reluctantly agreed, but she was using her living room as a production office, so I said, okay. She asked me the same thing in March, the next month.
How much was the rent?
$500 a month.
So that's $1,000 that you
That's
say is a loan.
$1,000 loan. The notations are right on the checks that she wrote in her handwriting, saying.
I assume you have the check.
Yes, I do.
Because the first few things that you're talking to me about, well, with the exception perhaps of the fax machine, which is expensive, you're really talking about change. You're talking about $80 and you're talking about $100. You know, I mean, I know those are little things. But here we have, wish I could see without my glasses, but I can't.
And it says her notations on the bottom saying, loan to Michaelina.
Uh-huh.
Not a gift.
Mm-hmm. Well, that you have to.
That's her handwriting.
I see that. Okay. What else?
During the course of the production, the actual 7 days of filming, Michaelina dipped into the petty cash accounts and was treating herself to extra meals on the way home from the set. Most serious, I caught Miss Lee stealing money from the production account. I noticed on March 6th, with a quick check that I did on my ATM machine, that on the second month's rent that she took for $500, which I had agreed to, she tacked $317 onto this. I asked her what the extra $317 was for, and she said she had some personal bills to pay that month, and she didn't want to break a certificate of deposit that she had in her savings account. She didn't want to lose the interest. I yelled at her and told her to put the money back in the account immediately. 1 week later, she wrote a personal check for $400 and put the money back in the account and said she would not do it again. 4 days later, she started stealing from me again. She had her own private account at the Bank of America. She linked her credit card to this production account and started making unauthorized cash withdrawals. This happened 5 separate times, from amounts ranging from $20 to $120. When I caught this belatedly, because your bank statements come in 2 weeks later after the month, she wrote another check, personal check, for $100 to put the money back in the account. And that same day, that very same day she put the $100 back, she wrote another check to cash for $70. With the $500 that she put back in the account, she is still $127 short on personal monies that she took out. I called all 3 producers together. Miss Lee handed me over all the receipts, unsorted in an envelope that we've been trying to straighten out since, and she was relieved of her financial duties. I have been trying to clean up this mess ever since.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If you found that he was, as you say, futzing around and not doing things quickly enough, you say, goodbye, I have to go get a job.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Filmmaker Miles Swarthout says producer Michaelina Lee embezzled money from his film budget.
All right, Miss Lee. That's a long story. It is. However, I have certain checks that clearly indicate a loan. That's true. And I looked at your answer, and not only do you have an answer, but you have a counterclaim. That's I was not impressed with. But your answer says, well, they really weren't a loan.
That's correct.
Then why would you write loan on the check?
At the time I took them, they were going to be a loan. Then, because we were also supposed to, by the way, we didn't rent a Panavision, we rented an Aton, just so everybody knows.
Well, it's from Panavision.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyway.
Type of camera.
Anyway. Hey, shut up.
Hey.
I'm sorry. Okay, anyway. We were supposed to film the movie in January. Okay, I don't have a trust fund. I got to work for a living. I've already done this once. I don't need the practice. I'm not a student. I mean,
so
I was a student.
Just a minute. Shh. Then what did you do it for?
Out of friendship to him.
Baloney.
No, not baloney.
Oh, Miss Lee, listen to me. You don't quit your job and go into a project where you know you're not going to be compensated financially at a friendship. You know, you're not 18 years old. So don't give me a lot of baloney. Make sure when you talk to me, I don't want to hear from you now. We gave you time, uninterrupted. When did this $1,000 become a gift rather than the loan that you originally said it was?
The first one became one in the beginning of February, right after I took the loan, and the second one became one almost immediately after I took that loan too.
Well, explain to me how that happened.
He said, "You're doing such a good job, you don't have to pay it back." And also because of the fact that we were supposed to shoot the movie in January, but he kept putzing around and changing the script, and he couldn't make up his mind which actress he wanted, and he, it was going on and on and on. That, I mean, I don't have a trust fund. I got to get money somewhere, and I couldn't work because of him.
Oh, no.
No, it was full time.
Miss Lee, we don't have servitude in this country anymore. So if you found that he was, as you say, futzing around and not doing things quickly enough, so you were going to be out of work for a longer period of time, you say, goodbye, I have to go get a job. Don't tell me you don't have a trust fund, which you've intimated in your answer says, well, he has a trust fund, so he doesn't have to work for a living. You are a grown-up lady, and if you didn't like the ground rules, all you have to do was say goodbye.
Which, you're right, I should have done that.
Well, you should have done that. And listen to me, Miss Lee. I seriously question whether this man, who has kept to every last penny monies in his head, monies that you have allegedly taken in an unauthorized fashion, said to you, you're doing a great job, I'm going to forgive the loan.
Well, I have a witness.
Let me hear your witness. First, I hear witnesses' names.
Oh, excuse me. My name is Terrell Lewis. I was a production assistant on the production. The first evening in which I met Mr. Swarthout, we went, myself, Mr. Swarthout, Michaelina, and the other producer, Miss Green. We went out to dinner. I rode with Mr. Swarthout to that dinner at Jerry's Deli, and he did inform me that he was paying Michaelina's rent because she wasn't working. She was paying his rent and helping her with his tuition, with her tuition for school.
It was
tuition.
school.
Tuition is one thing. Tell me the words that you remember that he said, sir.
As best as I can remember, he said, Michaelina hasn't been working. She's been working on this production all day. I've been helping pay her rent and helping her pay her tuition.
Okay. That doesn't say it wasn't a loan. But I understand what you're saying. He did, in fact, help you pay your rent by allowing you to make these loans. Have a seat. Is there anything else you want to tell me?
No.
Good. Have a seat. Thank you. Go ahead. Next.
Where were we?
Let's
go to
the fax machine.
Oh, the fax machine? That was supposed to be a thank you that I said, I have to do this with a fax machine. I don't have one. You have to buy one for me, and I get to keep it. And he said, yeah, no problem.
Did you ever tell us you could keep the fax machine?
I agreed to. I said it was going to be a gift to her if she'd done a good job on the production. I had given her a gift beforehand. I gave all three producers $85 free years gift memberships in Independent Filmmakers West for the good job they were doing before we started.
Mr. Swarthout, listen to me. It's really important that when you tell a story, especially when you appear to have a favorable response from the person who's hearing your case, that you don't embellish the truth. You did make her the gift of the fax machine. I cannot envision you saying to her, I'm going to make you a gift of this fax machine if you do a good job on the production. That's not the way it's done out here in Hollywood, because everybody's very touchy-feely. Nobody would say that. You would say, you're going to have fax machine as a thank you. Right?
No, I did say that, Your Honor. We were working on the incentive plan here.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She got what she was working for. She got the publicity.
But no one wants to see the movie.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Student filmmaker Miles Swarthout says he used his own money to make a motion picture and that his producer, Michaelina Lee, stole from it.
Now, you took out money from this cash account.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were treating it as your own personal piggy bank. You were doing that even though you may have been putting money back.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's correct.
But you were treating it as your own little private thing. You needed $20, you took $20. So you said to you, better put it back, and then you put it back. And then you took another $50, and then you put back $30, or you put that back $70. But you were treating it like a personal checking account, right?
To get gas money to do his film.
No,
Yes.
Miss Lee.
Yes.
Well, if you were putting it for gas money, that's a legitimate thing that you can write
Yeah.
off to the company. We're not talking about that. We're talking about if you needed pocket money and you were a little short, you took out money and then you put it back. Well,
maybe a little bit.
Yeah, sure. All right.
Little teeny bit.
Miss
But
Lee,
most of it was
Miss
for
Lee,
gas money.
Miss Lee, the problem is when you take out a little bit, you see, and you're not 100% pure because you are using it in an unauthorized manner. Put your hand down. And you also feel as if, listen, they're using my apartment.
My car.
They're using your car.
My phone.
All with your permission. Right?
The permission was only given for the first couple months. It went on for 6 months.
Say goodbye.
I couldn't. I was enrolled in the class.
Say goodbye to the class. Say goodbye. I mean, you're not a 20-year-old student. Say
I'm not.
goodbye to the class. Say goodbye to the project.
You're
That's
right.
what happens when
I'm
you
not-
make a film, Miss Lee. I mean, I'm not a professional in this industry, but you hear all the time. Right,
Judge,
Bert? It goes on, and the budget was $1 million, then it turned into $30 million, then it was $30 million, it turned into $100 million. It was supposed to take 6 weeks, it took 6 months.
The
You
next
hear that
film
all
I
the
did
time.
came in on time and on budget.
Well, you must have been dealing with some genius because it
No,
never happens.
he was normal.
Miss Lee, if you're saying that the plaintiff wasn't normal, then you say goodbye.
You're right.
So you're right. Now, also, Mr. Swarthout, is this the first film that you've done?
Yes, the first one I've directed.
Then you should know this. Budget is a very difficult thing. And if you think that any judge is going to sit and go through $11.17,
Right.
$20.19, $33.14 to try to come up with the exact figure that you say this lady owes you, you got another thing coming. It's part of the package of making a movie that you have to figure certain expenses. Petty cash is that what we're talking about, petty cash. Now, what you did was wrong, but I'm not going to go through all this to figure out who owes who $20. You understand that.
Right.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, she clearly owes you for her rent. $1,000 for her rent. She clearly owes for that. And as far as the fax machine is concerned, which is the only other major expense that you told me about, I believe that you gave her that fax machine, as probably well you should if she allowed her home to be used as the hub of your production. So I'm discounting that. Now let me just address for a moment your counterclaim.
Okay.
Because I will address it very briefly. In order to be able to counterclaim, you have to have an agreement. And you had absolutely no agreement with him with regard to your phone bill, with regard to rent for your apartment, none whatsoever. Because you're counterclaiming for rent. A couple of $100 a month. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever discuss that with him?
Yeah. It was on our original budget.
Rent for your apartment?
Rent for the office and in my apartment.
That he signed off on?
Yeah.
Let me see.
Oh.
I don't think so.
I'd love to see that.
I don't know if I have it. I brought everything except the original budget.
Can't help you there, Ms.
Yep.
Lee. Got to tell the truth. Because he would never have made a loan to you, nor would you have written a loan on your check for rent if rent was included in the budget. And with all those documents that you have, and the main thing that you're asking for here is money towards your rent, your countersuit is for the rent, and that's the one piece of paper you didn't bring where he agreed to pay rent on your apartment. Does that sound normal? Your counterclaim is dismissed, and judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Back door to your right, please.
She got what she was working for. She got the publicity.
But no one wants to see the movie.
She's also been branded a thief.
I think he's being overdramatic. It was loans between friends at the time. It wasn't theft.
I hope she never attempts to become a producer in show business again. I hope her industry career is finished. Should be.
These papers, you and the defendant live together with your two children. I assume that these are your two kids.
Yes.
The relationship was going south. You, Mr. Lemos, wanted her out of your house with the two children.
Correct.
And she was living there with the kids and Buddy.
Exactly.
According to your papers, you started eviction proceedings against her, correct?
Yes.
I'm not going to get into why. And sort of at the tail end of these eviction proceedings, it was about 4 months into trying to get her out of the house. According to your answer, you went over to the house and took her dog, right?
Correct.
You say you have a good reason for going over and taking the dog, but you took her dog. She didn't know where the dog was for how long?
2.5 years.
And you had seen him during those 2.5 years?
I have telephone records otherwise and stuff to prove that him and I were in communication over the telephone, visiting each other at each other's homes, the whole 9 yards.
Had you discussed Buddy?
Yes, a lot.
When you came home and found Buddy missing, what did you do?
I immediately called John at his mom's house and stuff, and at which time he told me that he had no idea where my dog was. He had no inclination of, he says, Irene, I'm sorry, but no, I didn't have anything to do with that. I feel really bad. Made it sound like really personal and stuff, so I went other than to the Contra Costa County Animal Control, and I set up, that's when I started setting up the missing reports or otherwise and stuff. I searched the premises, went around the blocks, went around all streets, even made up signs. But that's my family member. That's
okay. How long had you had Buddy at that time?
I had Buddy for 7 years before John took him.
Okay. Now, how did you ultimately find out that Mr. Lemos had your dog?
My son Joshua was playing with his new girlfriend's son. I have no idea what his name was, but he had mentioned, Joshua asked his son, how many dogs does John have? And the boy came back with 2. Well, John automatically saw that the conversation was happening, pulled away the child from my son and stuff and told him, no, you gotta, whatever, took him back, and then when the two confronted again, the 2 children, the boy says, oh no, I made a mistake. John only has 1 dog, he has Zeus.
So then your son came home and told this to you?
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
And this was at his house, place of residence. I was visiting the neighborhood.
Okay, at his house, but not his mother's house.
No.
Which is where the dog finally ended up.
Yes.
You're his mother, correct? Yes. So tell me how you confronted him, ultimately.
I went to his house and stuff. Neither one of these 2 people were home, and whenever I looked over the fence, that's when I saw Buddy.
So you went to his mother's house?
Yeah, and that's whenever I found out that's whenever because at first and stuff, I didn't let John know that what was being said between the kids or that I even questioned it, because if I did, he would have just ultimately ran with my dog. So I took it upon myself and stuff without even questioning him or without saying anything to him. I showed up at his mom's house knowing that she was at work and he was at work, showed up and just peered over the fence.
So then after you found out that they had your dog, what did you do?
I went to the San Leandro Police Department and filed a case against him and stuff, which I have copies of or otherwise. It's 9711035. Okay.
Did you call them and say,
yes,
I want my dog back?
Later on that
Who
day.
did you speak to?
I spoke to John at first. I could hear her in the background saying how she was going to kill my dog before she gives him back to me. She's going to put my dog down. I could hear her screaming in the background, yes, John. And then all of a sudden and stuff, he's telling me and stuff. At first, it was a good conversation. It was like, oh, no, how you doing? Oh, yeah. And then all of a sudden, I asked him, I says, John, I heard you had my dog. He says, Irene, I don't have your dog. I haven't seen him. I says, John, I was there. Ask your mom if I went by, because I went by her place of employment. She was standing outside, and I went by in a nice little cute little red car and stuff, and honked my horn, and she's all, not knowing who the hell I was, because I'm sure she would have given me the #1 finger first. But she waving at me and everything and stuff. I called it up.
All right, Mr. Lemos. You took her dog, right?
Yes, yes.
I'll hear your story.
Okay, the reason why I did take the dog was like the last 3 to 4 weeks before she finally got out of my house. She wasn't hardly even around at that time. All of her belongings were still there, but there was numerous times that I would go to my house, check on my house. We couldn't live together, of course, so I was staying at my mother's house. There was numerous times that I'd go out there and I would see that the dog had no food or water. And there was a couple of times that I had went out to my house, spent the night out there, and she never was there. I don't know where she was. I had no way of contacting her because I didn't know where she was, going from point A to point B. And so I had felt that the dog was being neglected because when I would go there, he wouldn't have any food or water. And I felt compassion for the dog, and I thought that I could give him a better home what she could provide, because the last 4 weeks, it seemed to me like she could have cared less about the dog, or even trying to get out of my house, for that matter.
Mr. Lemos, I read your answer, sir. You know, judges are supposed to be able to relate to situations with a certain amount of common sense. Let me suggest to you what my common sense made from your answer. Let's pick a month. Let's say in December you decided to separate. She's living in your house with her 2 children. She says, I'm not moving now. You go down to municipal court, housing court, and file papers to have her evicted. She gets an extension of time. Is that what happened?
That's exactly what I did.
Because the judge looks at her, looks at her 2 children, and says, I'm not going to put her out on the street tomorrow, even though it's his house. These people lived together for 2 years. She needs a little time to relocate. Meanwhile, you're getting more and more annoyed. So a month goes by, and 2 months go by, and you're getting hotter and hotter. And 3 months go by, and finally in month 4, you decide that the family pet is being neglected. So I'm going to take the family pet. Maybe next time, if you don't move, one of your children will be missing.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When John first took him, I was crying because he was my pal.
And later today,
I hope that in the future
you have also
you
had
make your
problems,
dream come
so
true and you really become happy.
This was not my dream.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 32-year-old Irene Hipsher is suing her former fiancé, John Lemos, for stealing her pet dog, Buddy, and keeping him for over 2 years. John says he only took Buddy because Irene was neglecting the dog.
Now, maybe your compassion for the dog was mixed with a little animus towards the plaintiff. You have no right to take her animal. And then for 2.5 years, you lied to her. If you thought there was a legitimate question of animal neglect, you have the right to call authorities and say, this animal is being neglected. You didn't do that. How come?
Well, at that particular time, before that period, she was still around with the dog. Up to the last of 3 to 4 weeks, I didn't see her that much anymore.
So if you didn't see her that much anymore,
I mean, as far as
the few times that you went by the house, sir, and the dog was there, why didn't you call animal control and say, look at this dog. It's all skin and bones. It hasn't been fed. It hasn't been watered. It's being neglected. then they would have taken the dog. And in all probability, if you were a person who was responsible, you might have gotten her dog. But the dog wasn't skin and bones, right, sir?
No, he wasn't.
No. So the question is now, what do we do with Buddy? The dog is her dog. Yes. The dog belongs to her. He brought the dog to you? Madam.
Yes.
Why don't you step up here? You're his mother.
Yes.
When he brought the dog to you, what did he say?
Just about what he told you, that he felt that the dog wasn't being treated right because there wasn't any food or water. And so he said that he felt that we could take care of the dog better, and he hadn't seen Irene. He didn't know where she was, so...
And you didn't question it?
No, I didn't.
Did you tell her you took the dog?
No.
So you've become attached to the dog, too?
Absolutely.
But the dog is hers.
I agree.
So it has to go back to her. Period. That's the end of discussion.
All right.
Yes, sir.
You know how she said it was being treated well? Her backyard was way worse than what we have now. They have apples all over the ground, not even grass.
I don't even have an apple tree anymore.
Well,
Tell me your name.
Jason.
Jason.
Pimentel.
Do you think this dog knows who you are?
Yeah.
Let me see. Let the dog go.
Come on, buddy. Come here, buddy. Come here. Yes. Oh, yes. No, that's okay, boy. That's okay, boy. It's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
Don't hit him too hard, Jason.
Oh, yeah. That's okay, Bobby's. That's okay, Bobby dog. Yes, it is.
Now, the question is, Mr. Lemos.
Stay.
You did the absolute wrong thing, and I think that you traumatized not only the plaintiff, she's an adult.
Dog.
But these two little kids.
They weren't even there.
That's all right. The dog's going to have to get used to. Let the dog go. The dog's going to have to get used to your family all over again. But you traumatized two little children who were really innocents, and you traumatized them because you were annoyed that their mother wasn't moving out of your house fast enough.
Buddy.
True.
Buddy.
So,
the kids weren't there the whole time.
for want of a better word, sir,
Buddy.
you have to be punished.
Buddy, come.
So I'm going to punish you to the tune of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. Step out, please.
Buddy.
Out the back door to your right.
Basically, instead, it all boils down to he's a mommy's boy. He has a brand new house. He's been living with mommy for the past 2.5 years.
No, I
Him and
haven't.
I've been broke up. Yes, you
No,
have.
I'm back at my house.
And now the next case.
Parties on Innocente versus Sierra Olivia. Step forward, please.
Actress Celeste Innocenti is suing playwright Jesus Sierra Oliva. She claims after he promised her the lead role in a play he was producing, the role was given to another actress. He says it was up to the director.
This is a case about principle. Plus $100.
Exactly.
What's your first name?
Celeste.
Celeste. And your first name, sir?
Jesus.
You are an actress by profession, or is that your avocation?
Well, I wish I earned more money at it, but it is my profession.
Okay. According to this complaint, Jesus offered you a role in a play that he was producing, correct?
Yes, correct.
A big role.
Mm-hmm.
And that play was to be performed at a small theater in September. I believe September 13th and 14th.
12th and 13th.
According to you, sometime later, he advised you that you didn't have the part and you had to audition for it again.
No, he never advised me that I didn't have the part.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen, you say I'm the boss, applesauce. You can pick anybody else you like. Carlotta is spoken for.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Actress Celeste Innocenti is suing playwright Jesus Sierra Oliva. She claims after he promised her the lead role in a play he was producing, the role was given to another actress. He says it was up to the director.
He said you had to audition for it again. He had some problems with the production.
He didn't say that I had to audition for it again,
What did he
Your Honor.
say?
He did say that auditions would be held. He left a message on my machine in late August, and then when I called him back, he said there were so many new parts and so many people had dropped out. He asked about my availability at that time. And then I told him, well, I'd been working on it for 2 months, and you have to understand, he initially called me to audition. He had gotten my name, and he said, well, you know, I heard you were a very good actress, and I would like you to audition. So at that point, having invested all this time and energy, I said yes. And in fact, the venue had been changed to a better theater, a more inconvenient date. But then I did say yes, I was still interested.
So you did go and audition again?
Well, no, the director, finally he had gotten a new director because the previous director had dropped out. So the director never did answer my calls or return my calls, and finally I did get a hold of him, and he said, well, rehearsals will begin on next Monday. This was September 1st, Labor Day, and then there will be every Monday and Tuesday until the performance. And then that Friday he called me back and said there were going to be auditions Saturday and Sunday, and I said, excuse me, auditions? I had been working on this role for 2 months, and Jesus had hired me to do this role. And he said, well, then come in and meet me. And then the next morning, being Princess Di's funeral day, I get in there. I was already depressed. I get in. I heard somebody reading for the role, and then I asked Jesus about it, and even then he said, oh, no, you are Mama Carlotta. And then he said, you're the best I've seen so far. And you know, at that point, the director still didn't, you know...
Ultimately, he chose somebody else, the director.
The director told me that Jesus had never told him that the role was precast.
Okay. So he hired somebody else.
Exactly, yes.
And they had promised you a $100 stipend for this performance.
Yes.
You, sir, according to your answer, had some problems with the original production. Is that right?
Yes, I had problems that my theater, which I had for the 12th and the 13th of September, I thought I had already made the deal with the director of the Chicano Center. And it resulted that at the end, he said on July, when I called him, Jesus, I'm very sorry, I didn't put you on the list. Your event is not in my calendar. So I felt terrible because I had already promised my actors that they would be performing on the 12th and the 13th.
Now let me stop you right there, sir. When you say you promised your actors, this is one of the actors that you promised.
I did.
Now, could you... and then you went out and had to hire a new place and a new director.
That's right.
So you hired a new director.
Yes.
You did the hiring. Why
did.
didn't you tell the new director that this lady had the part?
I told him that I already had 6 actors. I had already lost 6 of them. And the director insisted on being himself Maximilian, or else he would not be part of the production. And then it seemed to me like everybody wanted to be Maximilian, all the men wanted to be Maximilian, and all the ladies wanted to be Carlotta.
Just a minute. Am I correct, sir, that you had already promised her the role of Carlotta?
Yes.
Well, so if everybody wanted to be Carlotta, what difference does it make? This is your production. Why didn't you just say to the director, you can cast anybody else that you want for other roles?
Yes.
But I already have promised this lady, and for 2 months she's been working on the role of Carlotta. Is there any reason why you didn't say that?
Because I did not ask Celeste to work on the role for 2 months. I told everybody that their commitment would be for only the 2 first weeks of September.
For the performance?
For the performance
No,
only.
just a second.
And the rehearsals.
But she's an actress, so she was working on the part. Did you give her the script?
Yes, I did.
So she had the script from the time you first promised her the role.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
As far as I'm concerned, sir, you had an obligation when you hired a new director to tell him that at least one of these parts was already promised to this lady. Because you had given your word to her. She, as a result of your promise, went out and performed her job, which was to familiarize herself with the role, to work on it for a couple of months. It was within your control to see to it that she got the part, because the director was also your employee. And you could have said to the director, pick anybody else you like, sir. Carlotta's spoken for. You didn't do that.
I did not, because he said, I am going to choose the actors.
Listen, you say I'm the boss, applesauce. You can pick anybody else you like. Carlotta is spoken for. The commitment was for $100?
Yes, it was.
That's what you're suing for?
Yes.
Vindicated, $100 for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
You were so well prepared for Carlota. Why did you fail in your second audition?
Well, you know, failure is a question of perception. Let me put it that way.
Christina claims Diana assaulted her during an argument. Diana Perez says she was the one injured.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 246 on the calendar in the matter of Perez versus Perez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat.
You are the present Mrs. Perez.
Yes, I am.
Mr. Perez, you are Mrs. Perez, the former wife of this gentleman.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, former Mrs. Perez assaulted you.
Yes, she did.
You want damages.
Yes.
She has a counterclaim. She claims that you assaulted her first. She wants similar damages.
No, Your Honor, they didn't do that. Anything.
Well, this took place when you were returning the children. There are 2 children?
Yes.
Three
Actually, there's
children.
3 children. To your home after a period of visitation.
Yes.
Is that so? Tell me what happened.
Well, we went to go drop off the boys.
How old are the children?
One's 10 and one's 7. We only had the 2 boys with us at the time. We went to go drop them off. It was late that night. My husband wanted to talk to her concerning one of the boys being sexually abused. He spoke with her, tried to work things out, talked to her. She started getting mad. She charged at him, started screaming back and forth at each other. I got in the middle because of the fact that the children were crying and screaming inside the home. I told my husband, let's go so it won't get out of hand, which she got mad. She struck me on my right side, and after that, my husband did hit her, and she landed inside her house.
Well, when you say she struck you, did she strike you with a fist, her open hand? How did
I didn't see when it was coming. I don't know how she hit me, but she hit me.
Did you have any injuries?
Yes, I did.
What were your injuries?
My jaw shifted. She hit me on the right side, which it shifted my lower jaw to over here, which now I have a torn joint in my jaw, which I have doctor proofs in here. And he did make a little notation on here, what I sustained from it.
How long have you been married to your husband?
I've been with him for 4 years, 3-4 years.
And how long have you been divorced?
4 years.
What was this discussion about one of the children being sexually abused?
During the weekend we had them, their son told us what was going on. My husband called the health and welfare, called the police department, tried to get something done. They said they couldn't do anything about it unless the child was endangered over there. Which when we got to their residence, the other child was there at the time, and my husband...
You mean there was some allegation, according to you, that there was another child in the defendant's residence who had been sexually abusing
their children.
Their children. Both boys or just one? And you wanted to talk to her about it?
Yes. Because this had happened before, like about 2 years before.
Step up here.
Yes, because this had happened before, like about 2 years before. I brought it to her attention, and then she didn't let me see the kids for about a year.
That's absolutely untrue.
She said that I guess they had taken care of it. I called the health and welfare and everything. They never got back to me, and that's why this ended up like this.
Well, why did you pick this particular time to speak to her when you took the children back?
It's the only time when I drop them off, when there's a chance to talk to her, because I really don't talk to her. Yeah.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Yeah.
That's very unfortunate that the two of you can't talk. Did you put your hands on her that evening?
After
is not an answer. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I did. I hit her.
Why did you hit her?
Because she started charging at me, telling me all this. She took out the little boy that has been sexually abusing my boy. He's like about 5-6 years older. And she made him confront him. She put them both in front of each other. My little boy, he was shaking. He was scared because he was going to get beat up by this little boy. It's still going to happen. And he was scared. And she started screaming like, what? After she hit my wife, she said, what, are you going to hit him? And I said, no, I'm going to hit you. And that's what happened. I did. I struck her.
How many times?
I don't remember. All I
A
remember
lot.
is I lost it. It must have been like 3-4 times.
Were you arrested?
Yes, I was. Yeah.
He has been charged.
And
he has been
my
paying
wife my wife even pulled me off of her because she didn't want that to happen, but still did.
She did not touch her, Your Honor.
Shh. How old is this other little boy that's in the house, and how is he related to your former wife?
He's her nephew. Yeah. and
How old is he?
He's like about 13, 14.
He's
my little boy's
11.
like 7.
He's 11 years old.
It's 11.
Yes.
Okay, let me come to you. I'd like you to tell me your version of the events of that evening.
Your Honor, can I have the girl stepped out for a minute? I mean, there's some sections here that I would rather them not hear.
Are these your daughters?
This is my daughter, and this is her friend.
Absolutely.
Yes, please.
Step out.
Just for a minute, and because there's some issues that before, and it involves one of my daughters, and I would rather her not be present when I talk about it. I divorced Mr. Perez because of violence.
Domestic violence.
Yes. During the divorce, because it was really hectic for my children, I took them to counseling. And in one of the counseling sessions, my daughter revealed to the counselor that she was being molested by her grandfather, paternal grandfather.
Paternal?
Yes.
Grandfather.
That was reported to the police and and whatnot. Mr. Perez in turn countered that and started saying, at this time my nephew was 7 years old, my son was 6, and my other son was 4. In order to get back at me, he started saying that my 7-year-old was molesting my 6 and my 4-year-old. They called child services. We took all the children in for interviewing. And it was determined that the kids were playing. You show me yours, you show me mine. It was that kind of relationship that, at that time. Now, they come to my house that day and saying that my child had told her child, made a comment to her child. I talked to my little boy about this, and we have taken him to counseling also regarding this.
Why did you take him to counseling?
Because they've been so traumatized by all this. You have to understand, Your Honor, these people have been torturing me for 4 years. I mean, between taking me to court, I have been to court about 20 times since I divorced. For protection orders, for getting beaten up, for modification of child support, for everything.
Okay.
Anyway, we were at the house that day. I didn't have any milk, so I had to run to the store. I left my daughter and Veronica in charge. They were there. They came and dropped off the boys, and I wasn't home. I was at the store getting milk, and then I wasn't home. So they called the police on me again, because they called the police on me for everything, saying that the kids were unattended.
So let me understand this. You dropped the children off, and then you called the police.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
They didn't ask to be born. You made them. And your primary responsibility is supposed to see to it that they have happy childhoods.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Diana Perez is being sued by her ex-husband's new wife, 22-year-old Christina Perez. Christina charges that Diana hit her in the jaw, causing serious injury. But Diana says she was only defending herself.
You dropped the children off, and then you called the police.
No, we didn't drop the children off at that time with the girls. My husband wanted to talk to her regarding their children.
So you kept the children in the car?
Yes, we went to the police department.
Mr. Perez, so you didn't drop the children off?
No.
You put the children back in the car, or they remained in the car?
Yes.
And you drove directly to the police station?
Yes.
And what did you tell the police?
I just told them that she's not there, because she always does this. I'm supposed to drop them off at 7. It was
Just
already
a second.
12 o'clock.
Just a second. What did you tell the police? I didn't ask your whole history.
Okay, I just told them that basically that's it. That I went to drop him off. I already went like about 4 times. She's not there. And in the divorce decree, it says that I should drop him off at 7, pick him up at 7, and drop him off at 7. That's what it was all about.
How old are these 2 girls?
I think my daughter's 13. I don't know about the other one. I don't even know who she is.
Your daughter is 13?
12.
Or 12, going to 13.
And your 2 sons that you were dropping off?
That time he was 6, and the other one's like 9.
9 and 6?
Yes.
Why couldn't their sister watch them?
We could have left her off, but I wanted to talk to her.
You could have left them off.
Yes.
Now you drove back at 10, and you say she wasn't home at 10. Did you go back to the police again?
No, we called them up.
Called who?
Home, the police department from our home, to let them know that she wasn't home yet and what was going on. We let them know, and they told us we would have to get a hold of the health and welfare.
Just a second. At 10 o'clock, the girls were home.
Yes.
So why didn't you bring the children home instead of calling the police?
Because he wanted to talk to Diana concerning the boys.
It wasn't urgent to talk to her that night. Certainly not urgent enough to call the police. You folks, I don't know about what's happening on her side, the history of what's going on there, but you people are not behaving like responsible parents. You're behaving like vindictive babies. And you're putting your children in the middle, because whenever you bring the police into something, you put the children in the middle. Ridiculous.
Excuse me, Your Honor. The only reason I bring the police into it because there's been a lot of occasions where I get busy or something, and she calls the police department.
That's
and
terrible.
They want to pick me up.
Just a second. You mean you get busy and don't bring the children home on time?
More like I only see him like sometimes she doesn't really let me see him for 3 or 4 months.
Mr.
So when
Perez.
I do see him, I try to take him out, go do something. with
Mr. Perez, I'm hearing a lot of excuses from this end. Now, I don't agree with using children, custodial parents, if they happen to be mothers using the children. I just don't like the vibes that I'm getting over here, sir. Something in my common sense and my training suggests to me that there's a lot more here than I'm going to have time to hear today. How much child support do you pay?
$360 a month.
When was the last time you went back to have that modified?
I'm supposed to be in court tomorrow.
For what?
Modification on it.
Whose modification?
Mine, I guess, yeah.
What do you mean you guess?
Yeah, well, it's mine.
It's your petition to modify downward the order of support.
Yes.
From $360 a month?
Yes.
For 3 children?
Yes.
Why?
Because where I used to work before, I used to make a lot more money, and they closed the plant. I'm out of that job, so I ended up, to be able to pay the child support, I could have got unemployment, but I figured, no, I got to pay my child support, so I went and got another job. It went like 2.5 less an hour, so that's why I'm getting the modification.
How many times have you gone for modification? Mr. Perez, how many modification petitions have you filed in the last 4 years?
This is it.
This is the second one.
4. Okay. Now, I would like to see the initial police report from you, Mrs. Perez. Can I see it, please? What was the date of this incident, by the way?
The ended up being on the 25th because it was late that night, so they did 24th, 25th.
Okay. Now let me see the medical bill, please.
These are...
Were you arrested that night, sir?
Yes, ma'am. I knew I did wrong, so I just went and turned myself in.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And
This is what I look like after I got beat up by him.
It would have been worse, Diana. He could have killed you there.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Gabriel Perez's current wife, Christina Perez, is suing Gabriel's ex-wife, Diana Perez, claiming Diana assaulted her during an argument. Diana says her ex-husband injured her.
You didn't go to see a doctor until 2 days after this incident. Mrs. Perez, is that right?
I went right the next day, Your Honor.
No. 2 days later. This happened on the 24th. You went and just
Actually, it was the 25th late that night. And the police officer did neglect me medical attention, so I had to go on my own.
He neglected?
Yes, he did.
Did you go to the doctor before or after your husband was arrested for assault?
I went after.
Yeah, I got it. Now, I understand it. You don't get $5,000 for a slap. I don't see anything here about injuries, madam. And I don't know why you got in between these two people. I have no idea. You had no business being there. You had no business getting in between these two people. Now, you, with regard to your counterclaim, are suing the wrong person.
Pardon me?
You're suing the wrong person.
Oh.
He's the one you should be suing.
I know.
He was the one who injured you. And according to the police reports here, you were pretty severely beaten. He sort of acknowledges that he severely beat you. He lost it. I assume that it's not the first time he lost it.
No.
Yes, it was.
Baloney.
Never hit her before.
Well, then maybe the other times that you hit her,
I've
you
never
hit her
hit
on
her before.
purpose.
Never hit her before.
You two people present a very sad commentary on what happens when people separate. You are remarried, you have a new wife. You have any new children with your new wife?
Yes, I do.
How many children?
2.
2. Do you work?
Yes, I do.
So you work inside the house or outside
Inside the house.
In the house. What do you do?
I have a child daycare, which I am licensed to have one.
Fine.
I
Oh,
went to
that's
school
good.
for it.
That's good. All right, because I assume you know he has prior financial obligations to the 3 children that he had before
Yes,
he
Your
made
Honor,
more
I've
children.
been divorced before. I know how it goes. I was dealing with her before with the child custody of the kids so they could visit their father. I would talk for both of them.
Well, that's a big
Yes,
mistake.
it is a big mistake.
Big
but I
mistake.
tried to get them to do
especially
it.
when, Mrs. Perez, it's a big mistake, especially when a portion of your husband's salary is going to support his other 3 children. And there's not a lot of money to go around, so that makes you a little bit irritated.
I know he has obligations, which
Well-
is okay with me, because $360 a month is not even hardly enough to support
It
the
sure
children.
isn't. Especially when he's going to have it reduced. $360 for 3 children a month doesn't keep a cocker spaniel in puppy chow. Certainly not 3 growing children. So, I don't believe she injured you, madam. I don't believe that this slap, which you refer to as a slap, caused you any injury whatsoever. Let me tell you what I think.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
What I think is that you got very nervous when your husband lost it and was arrested for assaulting her because he assaulted her and you know he injured her.
Yes, I
because,
know that's right.
Because,
I tried to
because
prevent
according
it.
to these reports, there was blood all over the place. According to the reports by the police, there was blood all over the place. So then I believe that you and your husband came up with this story to try to soften it a little bit, that she was the one who instigated the whole thing by assaulting you. Now, you are not denied assistance by the police. There were no visible signs of any injury on you when the police arrived. None whatsoever. Your case is dismissed. You, on the other hand, madam, are suing the wrong person civilly. He's the one you ought to be suing. I suggest that you do it so that you can get damages from him, so the next time he loses his temper, he'll know what's going to cost him.
Yes, ma'am.
As far as your children are concerned, you got to do the right thing with regard to your children. If he has a legitimate concern with regard to what's going on in your house with a now 12 or 13-year-old, you have to take that very seriously.
Yes, I do.
And you have to stop thinking that it's just in retaliation. If it's true that when he confronted you with this allegation, you put both boys together, very bad thing to do.
I
You
did
have
do
to be
that.
protective of your own child.
Yes, definitely.
And make sure that this is not going on in your home, because very
Definitely.
often parents are the last to know.
Definitely.
You have to stop abusing the system, sir. Abusing the police system, abusing the child welfare system, in order to gain an upper hand in whatever kind of proceedings you have, whether they be support proceedings, whether they be visitation proceedings, whether they be custody proceedings. And the two of you have to recognize that together you made 3 children. The 3 children are the innocents. They didn't ask to be born. You made them. And your primary responsibility is supposed to see to it that they have happy childhoods. And right now, you're not doing that. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
This is what I look like after I got beat up by him.
It would have been worse, Diana. He could have killed you there, but I took him off of you.
You didn't do anything, Christy.
Yes, I did. He's a great husband. I mean, the 4 years I've been with him, he's never hit me. I mean,
Your Honor, this is case number 244 on the calendar in the matter of Harder versus Novo. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please. Have a seat, ma'am.
Mrs. Harder, the defendant, according to your papers, is the present girlfriend of your former husband.
Correct.
Who you allege defamed you
Yes.
in your community by slandering you and by publishing flyers demeaning your character and saying things about your children.
Yes.
Well, is this the ex-husband?
Yes.
Do you not get along with each other?
No.
You don't get along with him and you don't get along with her?
No. I get along with him if she's not involved.
How many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
9 and 6.
And how long have you been divorced?
6 years.
So you were married for a short period of time.
5 years.
Tell me about this defamation.
I have a copy of the flyer right here. I moved into a new home October of '96, and in February, my neighbors came to me, 3 separate neighbors came to me on one Sunday afternoon and said that prior to me moving in, a strange woman had gone through the neighborhood, knocked on the door, and handed out these flyers.
Can I see them, please? Stop. I've read your answer. Now, according to your answer, you don't deny that you went up to some of the neighbors in the new place where she was moving in and had conversations with them, correct?
Correct.
You didn't discuss these flyers in your answer, but I assume these flyers are flyers that you gave to them. Is that correct?
1. Correct.
So why don't you explain why?
They were meant for a telephone pole.
What?
They were meant for a telephone pole in the neighborhood because we were concerned for the children.
Who was concerned for what children?
I, myself, and the father of the children were very concerned of situations that the children were discussing with both I and the father about some abuse towards them from their mother and the mother's boyfriend.
Step up here.
And we can no longer turn
Step
our
up here.
cheek.
Step up here. You have concerns about your children, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Why didn't you go to the family court?
I went to the family.
You went to the family court?
No, I didn't go to family court. I called Child Protective Service.
I didn't ask you if you called Child Protective Services. You chewing gum?
Yes, ma'am.
Get rid of it. I said if you are concerned about your children, why didn't you go to the family court and say, I am concerned about my children, and I think that perhaps we should entertain a different kind of custody arrangement for the children. Why didn't you do that?
I did do that. I went to mediation.
Good.
A mediation.
Good. And what happened as a result of the mediation?
What happened in mediation?
Yes.
What happened in mediation?
Try to remember, sir, they're your children. Did you
I
get
know
your
they're my
children?
children.
Did you get your children?
Yes, I did get my children.
So you got custody of your children?
Right.
So then what are we doing here?
No. I didn't get custody.
Just a second.
I didn't get custody of them. I got visitation.
Good. Now, after you had visitation with your children, according to your girlfriend, the two of you became very concerned about the children's welfare.
Right.
So why didn't you go back to court and say, circumstances have changed. I would like to have a hearing with regard to custody of my children. I would like my children to have their own attorney that they can speak to, right? and resolve the matter in an orderly fashion as you did with your visitation request. Why didn't you do that?
Well, the man that I was talking to, the mediator, he said if there was any problems to come back and talk to him. There was a statement that he issued, and it was a court order, that she not degrade me in front of the kids and to leave me alone.
Degrading you in front of the children.
Right.
That's your primary concern.
No, it's not my primary concern, but these children are going, they're not, how do you say it? Excuse me, I'm not well spoken. But my children are going through hell right now.
You think that this makes it better?
Well, I think I've already gone to the Child Protective Services. I went to the school. Nobody
If you
else
went to
would
Child
help me.
Protective Services, that means that Child Protective Services did an investigation.
Yes, they did.
And did they take any action?
No, they didn't.
And how many times did you go to Child Protective Services?
3 times.
And of the 3 times that you went there, was any action taken, any case filed against their mother?
There's an open case, but nothing was filed against her.
And the children remain in her care?
Yes.
Do you have any children, madam?
Yes, I do.
Where are they?
She's 17 years old.
That's not what I asked you. I didn't ask you how old she is. I said, where is she?
She's at home waiting for a job interview.
At home where?
In Santa Barbara.
Is that where you live?
Yes, that is.
So she lives with the 2 of you?
Yes, she does.
She finished school?
No, she hasn't.
Why not?
She's a junior in high school.
I don't understand what you mean. She's waiting for a job interview.
She has independent studies.
Why?
I pulled her out of the school system.
Why?
I don't like the high school near my home.
Mm-hmm. Is that your only child?
Yes, it is.
And when did you pull her out of school? How old was she?
September of 96.
Mm-hmm. How long have you been living in the same place, sir?
Since, no, it's what?
Don't ask her.
Oh, I'm not good with dates, excuse me.
You're not good with language and you're not good with dates. What are you good at?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did you ever pull your kids out of school, Bird, to put them in independent studies?
No, Judge, not
I
at
had
all.
5 kids. I never pulled my kids out of school for independent studies.
And later today,
when I started expressing my concerns, she sent me socks saying that I had cold feet.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 33-year-old Jackie Harder is charging her ex-husband's new girlfriend, Denise Novo, with defamation of character. Jackie says when she moved into a new neighborhood, Denise passed out flyers to the neighbors, falsely accusing her of being a child abuser. Denise says that it's true.
You two must be very smart people in order to teach this child yourself. He doesn't know dates, he doesn't know anything, and you do this. This is outrageous! This is outrageous! You are a mean, vindictive woman who could do this. She's moving into a new place. You didn't get what you want when you call Child Protective Services. They conduct no less than 3 investigations against her. They find absolutely no basis to remove the children, so you decide to make a little trouble, make her life a little bit miserable. And you go around before she moves into the community, and you plaster things up around the community. She says she gave it out to people. Genius over here says it was supposed to be on telephone poles. All right? I want to tell you something. If I were the family court judge, not a mediator, but if I were the family court judge who was deciding visitation with your children, you, sir, would see your children under a supervised visitation arrangement only. And I am a very serious proponent of fathers having as unrestricted quality time, if they are not the custodial parents of children, as is possible, because I always believe that that's in a child's best interest, to have the love and companionship of both biological parents. It's always been my view. I'm a serious proponent of that, but not, sir, when you live with this kind of witch. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. Whatever counterclaim there is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
Parties on Licht versus Water. Step forward, please.
42-year-old Reverend Howard Licht is suing his former fiancée, 39-year-old Stephanie Warder, for not returning the engagement ring after they called off their wedding. Stephanie says she was embarrassed by his change of heart.
Simple case. You are Reverend Licht?
Yes, ma'am.
And Miss Warder, according to these papers, you became engaged to each other. That's correct. You purchased an engagement ring for the defendant. You changed your mind.
Yes, ma'am.
Called off the wedding. Want the ring back.
Yes.
That's pretty simple. How long were you engaged before you changed your mind, sir?
A couple of months, Your Honor.
Why don't you think 4 months? All right, Miss Warden. Water. Is that the way you pronounce it, Water? Why don't you tell me why you think he is not entitled to his ring back?
Well, after he proposed to me and I said yes, I started planning for the wedding. I bought a wedding dress, hired a wedding coordinator, worked on getting the tuxes and the bridal dresses. I had my whole church involved in planning this wedding. And then he calls it off, but doesn't really call it off. He says, well, why don't we just postpone the wedding? So, okay, we can do that. But then he never would talk to me, with no communications whatsoever. Every time I tried to talk to him, he would be abrupt with me, sure, had something else to do. And I thought we were trying to work this out.
Did you know why he had called off the wedding or why he wanted to postpone it?
He said that he didn't like the way I talked to waiters and waitresses.
Is that the reason you gave her?
That was among other things, yes. At one point, we had a discussion about her having her hair done, and I was curious. She had told me that she had a speaking relationship with her stylist, and I said, well, what did your stylist think about the hairstyle you wanted? And she told me in no uncertain terms that her stylist had nothing to do with her decision. She was capable of making decisions on her own. It took me aback. I work with a lot of people. I listen to a lot of professional opinions, and while I may not always follow those opinions, when I make my decision, they are informed. I just began to think about what's the marriage going to be like if she makes all the decisions without any input.
I did have input from people, but the final decision is mine when it deals with my hair or something that deals with me, my car, my house, or whatever, because I am the one that has to live with those decisions.
Have you been married before?
No, I have never been married before.
But you have, sir?
Yes.
Never
According
been
to
engaged.
these papers, a couple of times.
Yes, ma'am.
And engaged a few more times.
Yes, ma'am.
How many times?
I was going to ask, but as long as you did.
Well, there have been a number of engagements.
Altogether, how many times?
I would say probably 7 or 8 different times.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He would get me upset about this or wanting to talk. And then, of course, it was time to go to bed because he had to get up and preach the next morning.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 39-year-old Stephanie Warder says when her fiancé, 42-year-old Reverend Howard Licht, broke off their engagement, she had already spent hundreds of dollars planning the wedding. So she kept the engagement ring to help make up for the loss.
Miss Warder, how much did you actually spend on planning the wedding? Your dress, things that you could not return.
I spent probably with the dress and the plane tickets to fly down to visit him, around $1,000.
I'm not talking about the plane tickets to fly down to visit him. I'm talking about you paid for your dress.
Right.
Were you able to get the money back?
No.
And how much was the dress?
$640.
And did you give any money to your wedding coordinator?
No, because she was a friend of mine and she decided not to.
That's not a big deal.
I've never been married before. I've never been engaged before either. This was the time that I was going to do it. I was 39 years old when he proposed to me. I didn't think I should have any problem about taking the wedding dress back because this was going to be it.
When you accepted this ring, did you know that he had been married twice before?
Yes, I did.
When you accepted the ring, did you know that he had been engaged 8 times before?
But I also decided that I should not hold his past against him.
Well, I'm not suggesting that you hold his past against him, but when somebody has an argument with you because they don't like the way you talk to your hairdresser, I would suggest to you that there's a problem.
That was after the engagement, not before.
You mean after you were engaged already?
Right.
You're probably lucky. Where's the ring?
I don't have the ring.
Where is it?
It's at home in a safe place. I'm keeping the ring because he gave it to me. It's very important. It meant a whole lot to me.
What do you plan on doing with it, Miss Water?
Wearing it on my right hand. It's a nice dinner ring.
Good. How much did you pay for the ring, sir?
$2,200.
You paid $2,200? Let me see the receipt. Now, Miss Water, I'm not going to send a posse to your house to get the ring. It's up to you. But if, you know...
I'm not going to give this ring back.
Well, then you're going to have to pay for it, madam. Listen to me.
So
let me explain why to you, because I think that that's fair. There's a difference between a broken engagement and breaking up a marriage. This guy clearly has some problems.
Mm-hmm. That's
if he makes a big Megillah over your hairstylist, that's not somebody that I, after waiting 39 years, would want to hang my hopes on for a happy future. So you're probably very lucky that it ended when it did after 4 months. The fact that it was an embarrassment to you, I can understand. But an engagement ring is given as a promise, as sort of a contract in anticipation of getting married.
I did not break that contract.
I understand that. It doesn't make any difference. In my view, it doesn't make any difference because whoever breaks the contract, both parties are usually better off. I mean, are you suggesting to me that you would have wanted to have married this man, gone through with the ceremony, and found out what you know about him now 3 or 4 or 5 weeks after you got married, or 5 months after you got married, or perhaps after you had children together? Come on, be smart. You're getting away cheap. So, in my view, irrespective of whose fault it is, of who's willing to stand up and say...
Why should he get back everything when I am the one who's the loser here?
Just a second. I'm going to see to it that you get back the money for your dress. That's going to be deducted from the cost of the ring. Absolutely. Now, if you're prepared to give him back the ring, I'm prepared to enter a judgment against him for the cost of the dress. Do you understand?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Because I don't think that because he changed his mind, you should find yourself in a position of being out financially. Doesn't that sound fair?
Yeah, the humiliation that goes along with it, too.
Well, but you know, you have to balance the humiliation, Miss Water.
Yeah, my whole church knew.
I know.
His church did not know. Even my mailman knew that I was getting married. This was very important to me.
I understand. Would you have preferred to have married him? And then been wife number 3?
At this moment, no.
There you go. So, that's the answer.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Your Honor, will that be a monetary judgment for the balance?
Well, unless I can convince Miss Water that she ought to give up this ring because it's going to be a constant reminder of this very bad period of time.
It is not a reminder of bad times for me. It's a reminder of all the good times for me.
Okay.
I am not giving it back.
Very good. I am deducting the $640 for her wedding dress, sir. $1,560 for the plaintiff. Consider yourself lucky, Miss Water. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I don't even believe in him as a minister anymore. He cannot be a minister and act the way that he's been doing. He does not practice what he preaches.
ਤੈਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ